Basically, शेरों को मंजरी पर ब्रॉडकास्ट Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare Ram. The favorite song of Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj, which he was listening to while departing from this planet. Join करना. वही कल बोला है परसों वाला कौन सा है 812
Recording in progress.
Shrirupa Manjari Pada Sai Mura Sampada Sai Mura Bhajana Pujana Shrirupa Manjari Pada Sai Sampada Sai Mura Bhajana Pujana Shrirupa Manjari Pada Sai Mura Sampada Sai Mura Bhajana Pujana Sai Mura Bhajana Pujana Sai Mura Jivane Raji Sai Mura Jivane Rajiva Sai Mura Swanidhi Sai Vancha Siddhi Sai Mura Vedera Dharam Sai Vrata Sai Tapa Sai Mura Mantra Japa Sai Mura Dharma Karama Anukula habe vidhi se pade hoi be siddhi nirakhi boy dui noyane से रूप माधुरी शशि प्रणकुवलय शशि प्रफुल्लित हवे निशि देने दर्शन ही गरल देहि चिरदिन तापित जीवन देह मोरे पद छाया नरोत्तम होइल शरण देह मोरे पद छाया नरोत्तम होइल शरण Shirupamajari pada sei mora sampada sei mora bhajana pujana sei mora prana sei mora sei mora jiva nera sei mora sei Siddhi, Jai Mora Vedra Dhara. Sai Sai Anukula Se Pade Hai Siddhi, Niraki Boy Doi Naya. Sai Pranakuval Shashi, Prafulita Have Nishide. Darshan Chirudina Tapita Jiva Narutama Loshara Padachaya Narutama Loshara Shirupamajari Pada Sai Pada Sai Mora Bhajana Pujana Sai Mora Sai Mora Premara Divanera Jiva. Srila Rupa Goswami Prabhupada ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Read the translation. Mike, translation. पढ़ो.
The perfection of us, and they are perfection worthy of attainment. They are the very law of the scriptures for me. They are the meaning of all my fasts and penances and my silent uttering of my mantras. They are the basis of religion and activities.
Third one.
By the purifying process of favorable devotional service, one will attain perfection, and with these two eyes be able to see. His transcendental form is shining like moonlight in my heart, and my heart therefore shines and reciprocates. In other words, the ordinary moon lights up the night and its shine illuminates the other objects, but the moon of the effulgence of the form of Sri Rupa Manjari shines into the heart and makes the heart also shine back to the spiritual sky. This moon shines not only in the night time, but day and night.
Your absence from my vision is like a dose of strong poison, and I will suffer till the end of my life. Narottam Das Thakur says, please give me your mercy and the shade of your lotus feet.
Jai Shri Narottam Das Thakur. Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kada Mahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vande Aham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Pada Kamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavam Shri Rupam Sagar Jata Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadhvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitam Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Preshaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamin Iti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashyate Desha Tarine Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namine Gauratashe Namaha. He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostate Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanusate Devi Pranamami Hari Priya Vancha Kalpataruvesha Kripa Sindhu Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Mukam Karoti Vachalam Bangam Langayate Girim Yat Kripatamaham Vande Shri Guru Dinataram Hare Krishna. आवाज इको जैसा लग रहा है. I am feeling sound is echoing. I don't know. Others are feeling it. If there is some echo, make it 0. I don't know how to adjust. So welcome back to the ongoing series of Nectar Devotion study. Today we'll be discussing introduction. So Srila Prabhupada, in writing his summary study of Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, made sections with different titles, which refer to different series of verses within the actual original book. So the first 15 or 16 verses, let's see. So Prabhupada put introduction as introduction, after which he started the chapter 1. But actually in introduction only, he is summarizing the first 16 verses of Nectar of Devotion book, I mean Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu book. And in that, he is offering the Mangala Charan and primarily the definition of pure devotion service, like that. So these two things are covered, and there's a brief summary of the book itself, how the book is divided into 4 oceans, and that is being discussed there. And then chapter 1 onward, then there are further from text. Here also it says verse to 16, then it's a chapter 1 start from 13 to 43, so I don't know exactly how it happens. But in introduction also, it's a part of the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu book only. The first 12 verses are summarized, and Prabhupada has written that as introduction, rather than writing chapter 1. And then the different chapters are referring to different sections from the original book, and we will see them. So we will refer to Radhesham Prabhu's PPTs to cover the content, and after that we will read the summary study from Srila Prabhupada's books and add on few things as may be required. And in this way we will try to see that we go through the Prabhupada's. Still, sound is uncomfortable. It seems to be, maybe it's because of big hall or whatever, but yes. For all of you, it sounds okay. It sounds okay. So don't know whether it's the acoustic issue or my sound voice issue or another extraterritorial issue. Whatever it is, I'm trying to fix it with that. You have seen this flow diagram? You can project the shared screen on. So this covers the first preface and introduction part. Just somebody has put it in a flowchart way just for the sake of better understanding, like that. So Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. So it starts with the Prabhupada is explaining about rasa. And rasa is, as we were discussing, is mundane. Then it is fades, chapalasuk, it oscillating, tasteless, bhoktyag. And bhakti rasa is fresh and eternal. And then bhakti means devotion love, that is love for the Lord, which is implied by service and trying to please the beloved. And if love is not directed towards the Supreme Lord, Prabhupada said, this is the basic point which humanity is missing. Just like watering the root of the tree is nourished, or by putting food in the stomach, still it is food in the stomach, all the parts of the body are nourished, and there's no other way. There's no other way to nourish the body other than to put food in the stomach, or there's no other way of nourishing the tree than to put water at the root. Make the bus zero and travel to whatever little bit that may help.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna,
You can give that otherwise.
Hare Krishna.
So, to love is our basic propensity, but it is diverted toward family, country, nation, pets, and all other things. But the basic propensity, no one can live without it. And the basic thing is it should be connected to Krishna. So nectar devotion is, now it's better. It's okay. It's fine. We'll leave it in that setting. It's okay. So the nectar devotion teaching is how to redirect our basic loving propensity to love Krishna. And Prabhupada said that is the master switch. If we switch that one on, everything else we can love in connection with Krishna. So he says that. And then he talks about the purpose of Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. To make Goswamis, to explain the difference between Bhakti and mundane rasa, and to give practical ways by which we can practice devotion service while living in this world, and to revive our original love in one of the 5 rasas, and how to love all centered around loving Krishna, how to nurture devotional life. Prabhupada is specifically meant for practicing devotees in our society, specifically, apart from everyone else. So we all discuss it. Then here, further today, it starts with Mangalacharan. So Mangalacharan has 3 parts. The objective of the book is defined. Obeisances are paid to the superiors, to the Lord, to the spiritual master, to the Guru, Vaishnavas. And the benediction is being sought from the superiors, or is offered to the readers. So this is Mangalacharan with 3 components. So objective is Krishna, who is the reservoir of all pleasure. It's a Krishna, not Narayan. So that is, these things are explained in great length by our acharyas, especially Srila Jiva Goswami and Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur, because they wrote commentary on Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. So we will not go in detail of that because it's it's lengthy, and I'm not so good in keeping pace with the time, and extra classes are difficult things to take. So you can read it on your own also. So Krishna is the reservoir of all pleasure. The possibility of Narayan being the reservoir of all pleasure is ruled out in the commentary by the acharyas. And then he's the attractor of the gopis. This is the first verse. And then there are further obeisances paid to Krishna, Vaishnavas, and Guru. And the Vaishnavas are compared to shark who delight in the ocean of perfection, and they reject the rivers of liberation. This will come. The Prabhupada writes it in his translation also, and also the verse also state that. Then he offered obeisances to Srila Sanatana Goswami, requesting him for protection of this grantha from the argumentative logicians and be freed from the influence of all the impersonalists and misconceptions. And then there's a description of the content of the book. This is the ocean which has 4 sides. The eastern side, western side, eastern, western, southern, and northern. So we discuss only the eastern section, which has 4 waves in that. So there's an overview of devotion in chapter 1. And then there's a devotion service in practice, that is sadhana bhakti, which is described in chapter 2 to 16. Devotion service in ecstasy, that is bhava bhakti, chapter 17 and 18. And devotion service in love of God, prema bhakti, which is defined in chapter number 19. So this is all we discussed, the 19th chapter. But the other 3 sides also have 4 waves each. The western side talks about the primary rasas, and southern side say overview of rasas, and the northern side talks about the secondary rasas. They're all there. And then the introduction further deals with the definition of pure devotional service, which is an activity intended to please Krishna. And Krishna, when we say, it is an all-inclusive definition which includes Krishna's incarnations, his paraphernalia, his devotees, and his abode. And Anushilanam, following the previous acharyas, and it is free from creative activity and monastic philosophy. So this is a flow chart, which is in a summary, like you can refer to. You have it? Right? So we'll mail it to home. Mail it to you. You can drop me a mail writing that please send the flowcharts. So whoever prepared will get mercy. I'm just using it. I'm not prepared them. So like that, there's a flowchart for Sadhana Bhakti, chapter 2 to 16, flowchart for Bhava Bhakti. So then things are very well summarized in a nutshell. That's good. So now today we are discussing about switching on videos on Zoom, something not easily achievable. Because we have many parallel things going on which we can't put on the videos. It's a difficult thing. Doesn't happen all the time. So, definition of pure devotional service will go for that. We discussed that a little bit yesterday, that Prabhupada saying that if we are engaged in devotional service, Krishna consciousness, then at least it is guaranteed that we'll have at least a human body in our next life. And this also we discussed yesterday. Bhakti Rasa automatically brings one to an auspicious life free from anxieties. And it's sufficient to produce a feeling of liberation because it attracts the attention of the Supreme Lord Krishna. A root cause of our dissatisfaction, because our dormant loving propensity is not fulfilled. And nectar devotion gives us practical hint how we can live in this world, perfectly engage in devotion service, fulfill all our desires in this life and the next. So, sometimes it may be amazed, अरे भक्त लोग भी desire पूरा करते हैं. This is in devotion service also, Krishna gives a means by which the devotee can deal with the material desires residing in his heart and can address them in such a way that they do not interfere with the purity of his practice. So the other day we were discussing that very important verse, which I just like to share from Bhagavatam. Remember that verse? What is the 11th canto verse? That horse wala verse, it was a nice verse. Horse. Horse. I have noted down. Yeah, 11, 20, 21. Here it is. So pure devotion service surpasses knowledge and detachment. This is from Uddhav Gita. And it says, Esa vai paramam yogo manasa sangraha smrte. Hridaya jnanatva anvichan. Damya sevavarto muhu. So he says, an expert horseman desiring to tame a headstrong horse first lets the horse have his way for a moment, and then pulling the reins gradually places the horse on the desired path. Similarly, the supreme yoga process is that by which one carefully observes the movements and desires of the mind and gradually brings them under full control. Read the purport.
Just as an expert rider intimately knows the propensities of an untamed horse and gradually brings the horse under control, an expert yogi allows the mind to reveal its materialistic propensities and then controls them through superior intelligence. A learned transcendentalist withholds and supplies sense objects so that the mind and senses remain fully controlled. Just as the horseman sometimes pulls sharply on the reins and sometimes allows the horse to run freely, the rider never forgets his actual goal or destination and eventually places the horse on the right path. Similarly, a learned transcendentalist, even though sometimes allowing the senses to act, never forgets the goal of self-realization, nor does he allow the senses to engage in sinful activity.
So the path of bhakti, you see, the path of karma engages the mind and senses in fruitive activities with the desire to enjoy the senses, and that leads to frustration. Bhoga, that is karmi's path. And the renunciate, the jnanis, they try to go on the path of tyaga, want to control, neti, and perform very severe austerities and very severe penances, go against the senses. Whatever the senses like, go against it. But a bhakti yogi, he can manage the senses perfectly well. So that's why this example is given. The horseman controls the horses in a very careful way. It is not that he always pulls the rein, it is not that he leaves the reins. If you always pull the rein, the horse will become rebellious. And if you totally leave, the horse will take him to different destination. So the rider never forget his destination and he knows how exactly, to balance. Similarly, like you fly a kite. So we know when to lose it. How many of you ever fly a kite? बाकी लोगों ने नहीं उड़ाया. घोड़े पे कौन बैठा है? घोड़े पे भी कोई नहीं बैठा हुआ. घोड़े पे बैठे? हाँ. मतलब बैठे मतलब राइड पे ऐसा बीच के साइड में राइड पे ऐसा घूम के. उसका जैसा नहीं ऐसा रेस वाला ऐसा घोड़ा दौड़ा है तो पता चलेगा कि it is not that the kite is controlled by pulling all the time. No, there's a time to pull and there's a time to give loose. And then you can, put the kite on the right track and make it go higher and higher. And then when you want it, pull it back, वापस रख दो, फिर अगले दिन उड़ाओ उसको. So in life, it is not that it is always loose, always sense gratification or, no engagement for senses. Bhakti is a very balanced path. And the problem is that balance is a quality of goodness. And this age is the age of passion and ignorance. So that makes the balance very difficult. And that's why the path of bhakti looks like क्या है? करना है या नहीं करना है? एक चीज बताओ. Limited करना है, regulated करना है, regulation becomes difficult. And Krishna talks of regulation only. Yuktahar viharasya. Yukta karmasya jeshta. So that is the quality of goodness. The age being the age of passion and ignorance, it becomes challenging. So that's how the writer controls the senses. That is why a bhakti yogi, even while living in this world, is very happy. It is not that bhakti makes one miserable and, marne ko mrityu ko hamesha yaad raho. It's like somebody told, it's a very amazing thing. The devotee always talk about death and live very happily. Huh? And the karmis never talk of death, always talk of happiness, but live very miserably. हम लोगों कहीं शमशान में भी जाना होता है एंड लास्ट राइड के लिए भी तो भी टाइमिंग ऐसा चूज करते हैं कि प्रसाद लेकर निकलेंगे टू दैट डिग्री प्रैक्टिकल क्या करेंगे थोड़ा जल्दी कर दो 9:30 बजे प्रसाद लेकर 9:30 बजे जाएंगे मतलब शमशान में जाना तो भी आदमी को पता है तो क्या है बॉडी सोल का अंतर पता है उसको तो जाके उधर कीर्तन करेगा 1 घंटा आ जाएगा नहाएगा और फिर अपना बाकी का काम करना so even the very miserable conditions of life are tackled with proper planning but karmis they're always thinking how do we go happy and नींद नहीं आ रहा रात को स्लीपिंग पिल खा के सो रहा है बेचारा हैप्पीनेस का बात कर रहा है लेकिन कहाँ हैप्पीनेस है उसको ट्रैफिक जाम में फंसा हुआ है बिजनेस लॉस में जा रहा है पत्नी सुनती नहीं है बच्चे भागे तो इतना मिजरी है लाइफ just now I went to Vela with one gentleman for some work बोला मुझे आपको पता नहीं आप लोग तो दुनिया में रहते ही नहीं है बोला कि जो मेरा मतलब निकट का फ्रेंड है उसका एक्वेंटेंस उसका रिलेटिव है तो 2 दिन पहले ही टीनेज बच्चे ने सुसाइड कर लिया किसके लिए मदर से झगड़ा किया 2000 रुपये लेने के लिए मदर ने नहीं दिया बच्चे मांगते रहते नहीं दिया तो 2000 रुपये नहीं दिया उसके लिए सुसाइड कर लिया टीनेज लड़का अभी की बात है 3-4 दिन पहले का तो बोले आपको पता नहीं चला कि बच्चे अभी कितना बदल गए मतलब दुनिया में लाइफ कितना बदल गया आप लोगों को आइडिया नहीं है तो मैं बोला बस आइडिया नहीं है इतना तो हम लोग वेरी डिफरेंट लाइफ सो दैट्स व्हाई ये भक्ति योगी ओनली लिव्स हैप्पीली एंड लीव्स हैप्पीली दोनों उसके लिए हैप्पीनेस है दैट्स व्हाई व्हेन प्रभुपाद सेज दैट ही फुलफिल ऑल हिज डिजायर व्हाइल लिविंग इन दिस लाइफ बिकॉज़ ही नोज द the way to fulfill the desire within the paradigm of Krishna consciousness and utilize those desires for the sake of happiness. जैसे किसी को मान लो शादी करना है, but devotee knows that marriage is not for sense gratification, it is for service. So marriage है, marriage वैसा ही है. Devotee also get married in the same way, but because the purpose is different, the goal is different, the lifestyle is different. That is why even though he's living a married life, but still, if he lives it properly as per scripture, he makes a spiritual advancement with that. So that's how the devotee fulfill all his desire and make advancement. Excessive austerity or restriction may result in great mental disturbance, just as pulling excessively on the reins of a horse may cause the horse to rear up against the rider. So the path of self-realization depends upon clear intelligence, and the easiest way to acquire such expertise is surrender to Lord Krishna through the medium of the spiritual master. So that's why Prabhupada in this chapter, in introduction also, will lay a very great emphasis that this pure devotional service can be understood and practiced only under the guidance of a spiritual master. That is a inbuilt or in between the lines thing. Later on, Adoguru Padasha will come, but Prabhupada is emphasizing it at this time for that. So that is why what we read yesterday about, this yeah. So give us practical hints how we can live in this world, perfectly engaged in devotional service, and thus fulfill all our desires in this life and the next. Sometimes it looks contradictory. Perfectly engaged in devotional service and fulfill our desires also. How do you fulfill our desire and perfectly engage in devotion? It's possible because you understand to fulfill desire in a way that is not contrary to the practice of pure devotional service. So the ocean divided into the east, south, west, and north. This is an overview which you already saw: eastern, western, southern, and northern. These are varieties of devotional service, which is Laharis, Samanya Bhakti. This is introduction, and chapter 1, the characteristics of pure devotional service. Then Sadhana Bhakti, practicing pure devotional service, Bhava Bhakti, and then Prema Bhakti. So this is Samanya Bhakti being discussed there. So first it start with introduction, which is this 4 sections: Mangalacharan, Guru Vandana, Vaishnava Vandana, and Grantha Vibhaga. Prabhupada, while writing the summary study, he is offering his Mangalacharan along with Srila Rupa Goswami's Mangalacharan in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. So the two seems to be overlap. Like when he will say, here Sanatan, here Rupa Goswami is offering obeisances to Sanatan Goswami. Prabhupada says, we are also translating this work on the order of Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj. Like that. So it has a little overlap over there. And this is the next chapter, characteristic of pure devotion service, the 6 qualities of Uttam Bhakti, and then qualification for understanding Bhakti, that will come later. So we go through Mangalacharan, the first 6 verses. The book's objective is defined. Author offers obeisances and seeks benedictions and offer benedictions. So verse 1 of this book is it describes the objective of this book, that is Krishna. Why Krishna defined the way he defined, there are a lot of explanations for that. Then there's Hari Vandana, Guru Vandana, Vaishnava Vandana, and then Rupa Goswami prays for the protection of Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, and then he expresses his incapability to write Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. And Prabhupada writes beautiful purport. 7 and 8, 7 talks about the 4 divisions, 8 talks about the 4th wave, 9 is explanation. 10th is following the acharyas for understanding pure devotion service. 11th is definition of pure devotion service, and 12th is definition from Narad Pancharatra, which is what is that words? Sarupadi Vinirmuktam Tatparatvena Nirmanam Rishikena Rishikesha Sevanam Bhaktiruttam. That is equivalent to the definition given by Srila Rupa Goswami in verse 11. So why is it not going? The upper part is. How is it not going? The upper part is not going. Oh, here it is coming. Okay, leave it. Here it is. Text 1, it can be sung. I don't know the meter is whether it can be sung. 1.1.1. Sri Goswami Pad writes, it's the first verse of the first chapter of the first section of Nectar of Devotion of Bhakti Rasamrita. Akhila Rasamrit Murti Prasharmala Ruchi Ruddha Taraka Pali Kalita Shyam Lalito Radha Preyan Vidur Jayati. Translation goes as follows. Krishna, the destroyer of all sins and bestower of all bliss, the very form of the highest bliss, filled with all rasas, excels all others in glory. He brings Taraka and Palika under his control by the diffusion of his beauty. He accepts Shyamala and Lalita as his equals and gives pleasure to Radha by his excellent qualities. And our acharyas are so extraordinarily expert, they gave a second meaning also. That just read it for our enlightenment. The full moon, which destroys suffering and creates happiness by its cooling rays, shines everywhere with its excellent qualities and beauty. It is the very form of nectar filled with all taste. It eclipses the hosts of stars by its light, accepts the playful gestures of the night. So Taraka and Palika, which are the names of gopis, and he said Taraka is his host of stars, and Palika, that is night. And fondly enter the Vishakha constellation in the spring season. So the words are differently interpreted by Srila Vishwanath Thakur. Jiva Goswami writes, Shri Rup, eternal peace incarnate, identical in mood to Sanatan, his elder brother, and whose younger brother was Shri Vallabha, who is his father, is the means of my success and the good fortune of all the jivas. So Jiva Goswami writes jivas sometimes for himself, for all the jivas, fallen jivas, and sometimes for the jivas means all of the living entities. Yes. Do you have a class here, common class? That's true. We have a common class also here. Obsessed by the desire to benefit all the devotees of the Lord, the esteemed author Shri Rupa compiled this remarkable work, the scripture called Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, using the rasas presented in Srimad Bhagavatam, which appeared within the lotus bird of his heart. Discerning that what will be described is the most exalted among all topics, he adds the introductory Mangala verse to indicate this, and thus announces that the whole of this work is auspiciousness incarnate. So then Jiva Goswami takes each word, Vidhu and how it destroys all suffering, surpassing all other, and extensively quote from Srimad Bhagavatam verses to prove his points. So we will just see a little of it, not too much. So book's objective is Lord Shri Krishna, who is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, because he is the reservoir of all rasas. Akhila Rasamrita Murti. All the rasas do not find shelter even in Lord Narayan, because the four qualities of Krishna makes him even superior or special than Lord Narayan also. Although from Tattva point of view, if one differentiate between Narayan or Krishna, then Mahaprabhu calls him that he's Pasandi. But from rasa point of view, definitely Krishna, kind of experiences and offers more and deeper experience of rasa than even Lord Narayan. So he's a reservoir of all rasa, Akhila Rasamrit Murti. And how he's the embodiment of all rasas. So this verse is quoted. What is that verse? Mallanam Asnam. Let's recite that verse. Yeah. Mallanam asnainam nirvara strinam ismaro murtiman gopanam sujano satam shitibujam sasta supitro shishu mrityur bhojapate virada vidusam tattum param yoginam vrishninam paradevate dividito rangam gata sagraja. So how Lord is the embodiment of all rasas is defined when Lord Krishna is entering the wrestling arena. And there's a whole thing. Our Balaram Shakti Prabhu does that quiz. You have seen that? I don't know which rasa he highlights. He's quite an expert in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu teaching and very deeply learned and absorbed in that. So for different personalities, the same person, Krishna, is exhibiting different rasas. And all the 12 rasas are covered in this dealing while he's entering the. So this is how Krishna is. He's the supreme shelter and experiencing different rasas. You know, Mother Devaki and Vasudeva, they experienced that Ashwarya rasa also. When Krishna appeared, he immediately transformed into the 400 Vishnu form and they offered prayers. But later on, the Vatsalya came, and then Devaki is saying that you again become a small child so that I can hide you. She's saying that he's Vishnu himself, but still her Vatsalya is overpowering her, and she's requesting Krishna to again take a small baby form so that she can hide her. And then you see the Sakyaras, and then, you know, Vatsalya Madhur, all of the rasa are there. So here in this verse, it is established that how Krishna is the perfect master, not anyone else. So it's a beautiful verse from 7th chapter of 11th canto. Tasmad bhavantam anavadyam anantaparam sarvagyam ishwaram akunta vikunta deshnyam nirvinna dhiraham uhe vijana abhitapto narayanam narasakham saranam prapadde. Read the translation.
Therefore, O Lord, feeling weary of material life and tormented by its distress, I now surrender unto you because you are the perfect master. You are the unlimited, all-knowing Supreme Personality of Godhead, whose spiritual abode in Vaikuntha is free from all disturbances. In fact, you are known as Narayana, the true friend of all living beings. 11.7.18.
So he's Anvadyam, he's Anantaparam, he's Sarvagyam, he's Akunta Vikunta Deshnam, he's Nirvinna Dhir, and Narayanam Narasakha Sharanam. So he's Anvadyam. So this verse is offered by Uddhava to Krishna. So he says Anvadyam. That means there are no discrepancies in the personal conduct or character of the Lord. Because sometimes there are discrepancies. No? We hear how sometimes even Brihaspati becomes wrongly attracted to the wife of his brother. Brahma becomes attracted to his own daughter. Like that. So there can be discrepancies in any person's behavior, including demigods and all. So sometimes the great sages, they also fall prey to wrong behavior. But Krishna is Anvadyam. There is no discrepancy in the personal conduct or character of him. Spotlessly pure. All his dealings are beyond doubt. It's all fully pure. Krishna Lotus Feet is 16 divine mark. Anantaparam. So Krishna is described as Anantaparam, which indicate that he is not within the limitations of time and space. Anantaparam. Because all other masters whom we try to serve, they are within the boundary of time and space, including demigod. Because Brahmaji also is bound by time. His time period is very long, 320 million. How much? 11 trillion, 320 trillion, 11 million. Whatever. So, but it is not Ananta. It is not, it is there within the strength of time. So he's Ananta Param. And this also shows his strength, how he got the son of his spiritual master back with him. Krishna is not, I mean, this verse is not talking of Narayan. This verse is talking of Krishna. So that is being established through these quotations. That what to say of Narayana, who is an expansion of Mahavishnu, even the Mahavishnu from whom the other Vishnus are coming, even that Vishnu is aspiring to take Krishna's darshan. As he's saying, Mad darshanartham te bala, Ritastena mahatmana, Viprartham eshate Krishna, Mad samipam cha anyatha. Krishna told Arjuna it was to see me, that Mahavishnu, the Supreme Soul, is told the children. He believed. Only on a Brahmana's behalf will Krishna come to see me, not otherwise. That means that Krishna darshan is so sudurlabha, it's so rare. It's not easy even for Mahavishnu to see. Krishna rescues Nanda Maharaj from that word of this. Varun Dev also prays. These are all quotations given. So it is not referring to, because the name of Krishna is not directly mentioned. It is mentioned that he maintains Taraka and Palika, he maintains Shyamala and Lalita, and he pleases Radharani Radhika. The name is not mentioned. So that is why the Acharya is going a great length to establish that this is referring to Krishna only. It is not established to any demigod or Lord Narayan or any other person. It can establish, it actually applies only to the Krishna in Vrindavan. He is Sarvagyam, he is all knowing, and he is Ishwaram. So that is why the first point which is established is that serving Krishna is the goal of life, who is Akhil Rasamrit Murti, who reciprocates perfectly with his devotee, and he is having all these qualities which make him the perfect master. Being Sarvagyam, all knowing, he never forgets the service of his devotee, therefore he is never ungrateful. You see here. In fact, it is said that Krishna does not remember the fault of his devotee, but only the service they have rendered. It's Sarvagyam. One should not feel, whatever I did is forgotten by Krishna, or whether Krishna knows or not. He's Sarvagyam. And similarly, Ishwaram, that he is all powerful and omniscient and omnipresent. He's omnipotent and he's omniscient and he's omnipresent. No other master is like that. Somebody may be powerful, but is not present all the time. Somebody may be with us, but he may not be powerful and he may not know when we need him. So that is why Krishna is described here as Ishwara, or the supreme controller. Akunta Vikunta Dishna. Krishna has an eternal abode called Vaikuntha, and this abode is never disturbed by anything. So the faithful servant goes back home, back to Godhead for that. Demigod planets are temporary. Their benedictions are temporary. Their, planets are temporary, and their bodies are also temporary. So now we'll go into the further opening of the verses. First verse only, this is trying to establish that how Krishna is the perfect master. So that's why it took a detour for establishing Krishna as the perfect master worthy of serving. And that's why Radha Shampoo went at great length to describe that part more than other things. It will continue with this part. What? Oh, it's the last slide. So, is a summary of a few points, because the purport is so big and I am not very used to summarize the great purports and commentary of Acharyas into shorter form. So that's why I'm trying to just repeat whatever is being mentioned here, although I read it, try to understand it, but not able to present it well. So Krishna is the objective of Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, whose chest is marked with the Shiva Samark. He removes all the miseries of jivas, and he surpasses all. Trayadhish, master of three modes, three dham, three worlds, is all attractive and gives happiness, source of all others, is existing eternally. That. So it talks about the hierarchy of the gopis also, which is again a description in itself. And some of these gopis who are there, they are from the Chandravali Paksha also. So it is not only from Radharani's Paksha. A few gopis are mentioned from that name also, Taraka, Palika, Shyama, Lalita. And so there's actually more descriptive of each word and how it applies and what are the names of these gopis and what do they actually do and how Krishna attracts them. So that is all being described there, but that we leave it for your own individual study. I'm not able to get from that. It's quite elaborate, quite rustic. You can read that. Nice. And in the second verse, he is offering his Ishtadev, prayer to his Ishtadev, that is Lord Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, because he is Shri Chaitanya Manovishtam. Hridayasya preranaya pravartito aham varaka rupopi tasya hare pada kamalam vande Chaitanya devasya. So he says, I offer my respect to the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord in the form of Chaitanya Dev. Though I am a wild person by nature, by his inspiration within my heart, I have undertaken his work. So that is the offering to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And Prabhupada simultaneously offers his prayers to Chaitanya Rupa Goswami and Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Maharaj, by whose inspiration I have been engaged in the matter of compiling this summary study of Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. And then it offered prayers to Sanatana Goswami, whom Rupa Goswami considers in one way like his guru. So he said, Vishram Mandirataya Tasya Sanatan Tanur Madishasya Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhur Bhavata Sadayam Pramodaya. May this work named the Ocean of Nectar, composed of Bhakti Rasa, always serve as the recreation hall of my Lord, manifested in the form called Sanatan Goswami for his pleasure. As a recreation hall, Sanatan Tanur. Vishram Mandir Tayatasya. Vishram Mandir means it's like we relax, no? There's a relaxing room or waiting room or kind of room where you're just relaxing comfortably. So he said that this ocean of nectar composed of Bhakti Rasa be the serve as a recreation hall for my Lord, manifested in the form called Sanatana Goswami. And then he says, and then he offered his obeisances to a devotee. Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu Charata Prabhuta Kalal Jalabhya Bhaktamakara Nashlita Mukti Nadikan Namasyami. So he offered his respect to the devotees whom he compared with the Makaras. Makaras we may call sharks, they are translated in English, who are the king among fishes. And they are frolicking in the sweet ocean of devotion rasa, who disregard the insignificant rivers of liberation, who are free from fear caused by the net of time. So why he compared the devotees to the shark, that is being explained further. King of fish. Why he is compared? Because of three reasons. The shark lives only in the ocean. They don't live in the rivers. So similarly, devotees live in the ocean of Bhakti Rasa and reject river-like lesser pleasures. That means there are other paths which finally merge into the ocean, but then they are the path and the means. But devotee actually reside in the ocean of Bhakti Rasa. They are relishing the sadhya in their sadhana stage also. So because sadhana and sadhya are same for a devotee, so he's relishing that ocean of Bhakti Rasa even in the practicing stage. While the rivers, they have to reach the ocean, but devotee always reside in the ocean. The sharks reside in the ocean. And they reject the rivers. That means rivers are other paths which gradually come to ocean like Jnana and all. And the sharks are there deep in the ocean of devotion service, so they are never caught in the fisherman net, which is the net of birth and death, Mayajal. And then he prays for the protection of Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu's protection, that is in the text 5. See the text 5. He says, Mimasaka Vad Bhagena Kachinam Api Kuntayam Aso Jipam Ispurat Sanatana Suchiram Tab Bhakti Rasamritam Bodhi. O Sanatan, may your ocean of Bhakti Rasa remain for a long time, restricting the harsh argument of the proponents of karma and jnana, just as the ocean restricts the flame of the Vadava fire. So this Vadava fire, the kind of fire, but within an ocean, the fire cannot harm because the ocean is all around. Yeah. So he's praying for the protection of Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu to Sanatana Goswami. And the theories which are put forward by the logicians and by the debaters, they are compared to the volcanic eruption which plays inside the ocean, Vadava fire. But they cannot do any harm because all around there is water. So similarly, the people who are putting theories against devotional service can do very little harm to this wonderful literature being composed by him. And then in the text 6, he says, Bhakti rasasya prastur akhil jagan mangalam prasangasya agyena pimayasa kriyate suhritam pramodaya. Though I am ignorant, Rupa Goswami Pad is saying, though I am ignorant, for the joy of my friends, I have undertaken this work concerning Bhakti Rasa related to Krishna, who is auspicious for the whole world. So, this is the humility of Sri Rupa Goswami. Although he got direct instruction from Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and he was so learned in the Vedic literatures, It is said that Rupa Goswami, Sanatana Goswami, when they would sit in the assembly of the Brahmanas, even in Ramkeli, they had that assembly, they would exactly look like Indra sitting in the assembly of demigods because they were so handsome and so learned. And any Vaishnava scholar writing anything would not be accepted by the Vaishnava community unless it was authorized by Rupa and Sanatan. They were so learned. They were learned into multiple languages, and definitely they were fully learned into the Vedic literatures and scriptures. But humility is that quality that which makes a person feel unqualified even though one is qualified. That is how Sri Sanatana Goswami defines humility in Bhakti, Brad Bhagavatamritam. That even being qualified in all regards, even having all good qualities, still a person feels, devoid of all good qualities and incapable of doing anything. So that feeling is called humility. So humility is such a quality. They say the moment we feel we have got it, we lose it. Because a humble person never feels that he is humble also. Right. So it's like something mysterious, but that is the blessing, that is the conscience. So Rupa Goswami Pad is writing that, and Prabhupada definitely in his own mood, he said that should be the attitude of all preachers of the Krishna consciousness movement, following in the footsteps of Sri Rupa Goswami. We should never think of ourselves as great preachers, but we should always consider that we are simply instrumental to the previous acharyas, and simply by following in their footsteps, we may be able to do something for the benefit of suffering humanity. So this is a very important mood. We all are preachers. What is the preaching movement? Prabhupada Anuga means preachers, but then mood is being also explained by Prabhupada. It doesn't just say just go out and preach, but in what mood to preach, that's also being taught. So because when we preach, sometimes unconsciously we may start feeling that actually we are the people who are enlightening the people under us. We are the people who will take them ahead. We are the people who will deliver them. And if this kind of false understanding and false pride is there, then the clarity gets lost. So, we have a kind of guideline in our temple that whenever the GBCs come, there should be no parallel program. But many times the preachers feel so, why? Because my people are very young, they can come for my class only, I can only make them understand. So this is very unclear understanding. Actually, Bhakti works in a different way, and the kind of inspiration people receive when seeing the great souls and their dedication, their one word, one line, one smile. They may ask a question. It may be a foolish question also, but they may raise but just by asking the question also, they may imbibe a lot of mercy. So this association of great souls works in a mysterious way. But many times the neophyte people who are preachers also, sometimes are not able to understand that value. That means that their act of preaching is not exactly happening on behalf of the previous acharyas. They are not actually shastrically situated. But they're not understanding the value of association of great souls. So that is why when we are just instruments, then we understand that my goal of life is that people should get connected to Prabhupada's mission. That is why in the IDC course, there's so much emphasis that first talk about Prabhupada. Before you talk about, who is my guru and who am I or whatever, first teach the person about Prabhupada. So that he develops a connection with Prabhupada, the founder Acharya, and then he develops his spiritual life. He'll become very stable. And if you go to all other organizations, this concept of connecting to the top man as a leader is very strong. I was talking to the sadhus from Swaminarayan. So they have a centralized system. There's only one initiating Diksha Guru sitting. I mean, he travels, but is there in Saharanpur in Gujarat. That is their headquarters. So their preaching is so centralized that any new program, any new person starting, that has to be sanctioned by the central. There's a preaching management committee which have centralized all over India. And then they are the people who will give guideline of what is to be taught. They will send a PPT and they will send notes. And you have the flexibility and freedom to share it in your own way. But PPT and notes are sent for every individual program. And every individual program after the program has to send a compulsory report. If you don't send report 1 week, second week you can't go and take the program. And any moment the preacher can be shifted to any other center. Any moment. Because why? The preacher is just a via media, truly instrumental. Truly, in the literal sense, instrument. Just going and delivering. And that's why neither the congregation gets disturbed, neither the program stops, neither anything else happens. The preacher ko bola, tum idhar jaye, Pune chhod ke tum jao, Belgaum jao. Tum jayega Belgaum. 24 hours they give for a person to shift. That's all. And he may be doing anything. He may be, kitchen in charge. He may be financial in charge. He may be the main in charge of the center. But the things are so well understood that I'm just an instrument. It's just good. And the program doesn't stop. The next person come, and the people also understand that he is simply representing the high command. वो सेंट्रलाइज वहां से आ रहा है, ये उसको केवल बोल रहा है, उसका नोट्स नहीं है, वहां से आ रहा है, उसका बोल रहे हैं. So they are able to give that transparency. And even when people change, there's no change in the thing. But in our case, when a person changes, the entire group gets lost. It's a fact. I mean, I'm dealing with congregation. It's a fact. Sometimes the council steps down. Very difficult to trace the councillors. Where did they go? What their practice is. So, that's why Prabhupada is highlighting so much. That should be the attitude of all preachers, that we are simply instrument. We are there today, gone tomorrow. Our goal is to connect people to Prabhupada, his teachings, his books, his writing, connect them to the temple as an institution, the deities, the services, the festivals. But oftentimes we have seen that people become attached, delighted. Preaching is good. If somebody is advanced, then he can, act as a servant of all those whom he's preaching and make advancement. But is it any other mood other than serving in the mood of servant to those whom we are preaching? And then, people may preach because when you preach, you get gifts on your birthday. And if you want to go by flight, you can get your flight ticket sponsored. And you want some special food, they can order online and you can receive from service gate. But these are not the right spirits, right spirit for that. So what we will do is that we will read this section from Nectar Devotion book, summary study from Prabhupada, and after that we'll go to the definition of pure devotional service, where these two are distinct sections. So we had a little discussion and we'll just kind of read through. I will not stop much and add much into that. You can read one paragraph, and I will add very little, and then when required, I will just read this part. The translation of verse 1.
Invoking auspiciousness, Lord Sri Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the cause of all causes, the reservoir of all rasas or relationships, which are called neutrality, passive adoration, servitorship and friendship, parenthood and conjugal love, comedy, compassion, fear, service, and ghastliness, wonder and devastation. He is the supreme attractive form, and by his universal and transcendental attractive features, he has captivated all the gopis, headed by Taraka, Palika, Shama, and Lalita, and ultimately Srimati Radharani. Let his lordship grace be on us so that there may not be any hindrance in the execution of the duty of writing the nectar of devotion, impelled by his divine grace, Sri Srimad Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada.
There's so Prabhupada writes the first translation of first verse, and then he also, because he's also writing the summary study, so he's offering his Mangalacharan parallelly. So he's also offering to Krishna that his lordship grace be on us, so that there may not be any hindrances in the execution of this duty. So he's offering his prayer to Krishna also, same way as Rupa Goswami is offering. And here he offers his prayer to.
Let me offer my respectful obeisance unto lotus feet of Srila Rupa Goswami Prabhupada and Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada, by whose inspiration I have been engaged in the matter of compiling this summary study of Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. This is the sublime science of devotional service as propounded by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who appeared 500 years ago in the West Bengal, India, to propagate the movement of Krishna consciousness.
So here, this is Prabhupada's own offering of prayer to Rupa Goswami and Bhakti Saraswati Goswami, his own Mangalacharan.
Srila Rupa Goswami begins his great book by offering his respectful obeisance unto Sanatana Goswami, who is his elder brother and spiritual master. And he prays that Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu may be very pleasing to him. He further prays that by residing in that ocean of nectar, Srila Sanatana Goswami may always feel transcendental pleasure in the service of Radha and Krishna.
He has made that Vishram room, that room for resting for Sanatana Goswami, diving into the prison. Okay, next.
Let us offer our respectful obeisances to all the great devotees and acharyas, holy teachers, who are compared to sharks in the great ocean of nectar and who do not care for the various rivers of liberation. Impersonalists are very fond of merging into the Supreme, like rivers that come down and merge into the ocean. The ocean can be compared to liberation and the rivers to all the different paths of liberation. The impersonalists are dwelling in the river water, which eventually comes to mix with the ocean. They have no information, however, that within the ocean, as within the river, there are innumerable aquatic living entities. The sharks who dwell in the ocean do not care for the rivers which are gliding down into it. The devotees eternally live in the ocean of devotional service and they do not care for the rivers. In other words, those who are pure devotees always remain in the ocean of transcendental loving service to the Lord and have no business with the other processes, which are compared to the rivers that only gradually come to the ocean.
Yeah, so this we discussed about the three qualities of sharks.
Srila Rup Goswami prays to his spiritual master, Srila Sanatana Goswami, for the protection of Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu, the ocean of the pure nectar of devotional service. From the argumentative logicians who unnecessarily meddle in the science of service to the Lord, he compares their arguments and logic to volcanic eruptions in the midst of ocean. In the midst of the ocean, volcanic eruptions can do very little harm. And similarly, those who are against devotional service to the Lord and who put forward many philosophical theses about the ultimate transcendental realization cannot disturb this great ocean of devotional service.
The author of Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu, Srila Rupa Goswami, very humbly submits that he is just trying to spread Krishna consciousness all over the world. Although he humbly thinks himself unfit for this work, that should be the attitude of all preachers of the Krishna consciousness movement, following in the footsteps of Srila Rupa Goswami. Should never think of ourselves as great preachers, but should always consider that we are simply instrumental to the previous acharyas, and simply by following in their footsteps, we may be able to do something for the benefit of suffering humanity.
So this is a highlight point for contemplation in this section. Attitude of all preachers of the Krishna consciousness movement. It's important to understand or capture the activity and the mood of devotion service, because devotion service itself, as we were discussing yesterday, it is a part of devotion, it is a part of feeling, emotion, bhava, and is a part of active service, activity, which is rendered by, by the body or mind and words. So both have to be simultaneously understood. Sometimes people capture the external act, and then if the internal mood is missing, that will become mechanical. And sometimes people think the internal mood we have captured, but they stop the external activity. That will lead to sentimentalism or sahajaism, which can lead to. So both have to be balanced. That means the right thing has to be done in the right spirit, in the right mood. So here's one of the places that Prabhupada has given such a clear instruction of the mood of preaching. Book distribution is also preaching. So this is the mood of book distribution also. And for all other kinds of preaching. So we should never think of ourselves as great preachers, but should always consider that we are simply instrumental to the previous acharyas. And simply by following in their footsteps, we may be able to do something for the benefit of suffering humanity. We are simply trying to become instrumental. It's very important, always to be contemplated. Right? Okay, now we go in the division part. So what we'll do now, we will read this part and then go to the PPT part or further discussion there.
Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu is divided into four parts. Just as the ocean is sometimes divided into four parts. And there are different sections within each of these four divisions. Originally, in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, the ocean is divided like the watery ocean into east, south, west, or north. While the subsections within these different divisions are called waves. As in the ocean, there are always different waves, either on the eastern side, the southern side, the western side, or the northern side. Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu similarly has different waves. In the first part, there are four waves. The first being a general description of devotional service. The second concerns the regulative principles for executing the devotional service. And the third wave, devotional service in the ecstasy. And the fourth wave is a ultimate goal, love of God.
So this is same. Introduction, chapter 1 talks about the definition of pure devotional service and characteristics. 2 to 16 talk of sadhana bhakti. And then 17, 18 talks of bhava bhakti, 19 talks of prema bhakti. There are four sections of that. Now the definition of pure devotional service is being given. Let's recite the verse and then we will read it further. Anya vilashita shunyam jnana karmadhyana vritam anukulena krishnanu shelanam bhaktiruttamam. So Prabhupada is not like in this entire thing as summary study not quoted any verse, but there's a verse other times Prabhupada has quoted very profusely as the definition of Uttam Bhakti. And here then he's like analyzing each part, starting with Anukulena first. So let us read paragraph by paragraph, and after that we will also go into the technical division, primary characteristic, secondary characteristic, like that. Yeah, go ahead.
The authorized descriptions of bhakti or devotional service following in the footsteps of previous acharyas can be summarized in the following statement by Srila Rupa Goswami. First class devotional service is known by one's tendency to be fully engaged in Krishna consciousness, serving the Lord favorably. The purport is that one may also be in Krishna consciousness unfavorably, but that cannot be counted as pure devotional service. Pure devotional service should be free from the desire for any material benefit or for sense gratification, as these desires are cultivated through fruitive activities and philosophical speculation. Generally, people are engaged in different activities to get some material profit, while most philosophers are engaged in proposing transcendental realization through volumes of word jugglery and speculation. Pure devotional service must always be free from such fruitive activities and philosophical speculations. One has to learn Krishna consciousness or pure devotional service from the authorities by spontaneous loving service.
So here he gives a general translation of that definition, because he has not quoted the verse, he's quoted the translation of the verse. This is the Paribhasa Sutra for Nectar of Devotion book, Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. Paribhasa Sutra verse is defined as that verse if it's like a judge. So if there are any conflict, any contradictions come in the course of, the presentation of that book, then this verse will act as the judge to decide what is aligned with it is right, what not aligned is not right. So for Bhagavatam, what is the Paribhasa Sutra verse? Ete chams kalapumsu krishnastu bhagavan swayam. So that is the Paribhasa Sutra, and there is a Paribhasa Sutra for this. What the Paribhasa Sutra was for brahmachari life? Huh? Brahmachari, Gurukule Vasan, Danto, Guru Ritam, Acharan Daswat Nicho, Gurur Sudra, Soidam. So if you ever get confused, then you can refer to this word. This is the standard or the exact definition of what brahmachari life is like, what he's supposed to do. Everything is being explained. Sambandha, Vidya, Prayojan, all three are there in this verse for brahmachari. Brahmachari, Gurukule, Vasan, I mean, anyway, let's not get into that. To that. But and then you get confused, you refer to this. This will clarify everything at all times. So, Prabhupada writes here. First class devotion service is known by one's tendency to be fully engaged in Krishna consciousness, serving the Lord favorably. And unfavorably also it can be there, but that is not counted as pure devotion service. Pure devotion service is free from Anyabhilashita and Gyan Karmadi Anavritam. So that discussion further Prabhupada takes it. So we will complete reading this section, then we'll go last line. One has to learn Krishna consciousness or pure devotion service from the authorities by spontaneous loving service.
The person has to do spontaneous.
Yeah, by likha, from the authorities by spontaneous loving service. So one has to learn Krishna consciousness or pure devotional service from the authorities, which may be Siksha Guru, Diksha Guru, authorities in that sense, not just managerial authorities, Diksha Guru, Siksha Guru, by spontaneous loving service, by serving them, because that's the principle, na? Ado Guru Padashray. So that includes both Diksha Guru, Siksha Guru. So by taking shelter of them, Tad Vidhi Pranipatena Pariprashtena Sevaya, then one learns. The Prabhupada will highlight that again and again, that it has to be learned from a spiritual master. And then we refer to Chaitanya Charitamrita, then we understand that the spiritual master will refer to both. It will refer to Diksha Guru also, Siksha Guru also. Both can be advanced to guide. In fact, in our Bhakti line, Vaishnava Sampradaya, the role of Siksha is more than Diksha. More than Diksha, the role of Siksha is there. What is that Siksha? That Siksha is simply how to chant the holy name by avoiding the 10 offenses. That is the essence of Siksha. How to avoid the 10 offenses. Because it's very simple. Bhajan Madhya Sreshta by Navavida Bhakti. No, Navavida Bhakti. Krishna Prem Upajay Dhare Maha Shakti. Tar Madhya Sarvasreshta Nam Sankirtan Niraparade Nam Loy Pave Prem. So Niraparade Nam Loy Pave Prem. It's very simple. You know, Srila Vaishnava Thakur says also that for offenseless person, it is Nama Grahana Vaikuntha. It's very simple. Nama Grahana, he chants the holy name and he goes to Vaikuntha, nothing in it. But for those who have offenses of this life and previous life, for them, it's a long cycle. Otherwise, Nama Grahana Vaikuntha Arohanam. This is a very shortcut, very short process, but offenses make it long. So the Siksha is about how to avoid the offenses. That is the Siksha. How to avoid the 10 offenses. And that is training. That is training, that is education. How to avoid the offenses. Because that's a simple thing. Why? Because Bahujan mein kare yadi Shravana Kirtan tabute na paibe Krishna Pade Prematan. Because with offenses, even if we do Shravana Kirtan for many, many lifetimes, we don't attain it. So that is why the learning from the spiritual master is how to avoid the offenses. For that, he trains us by education, he shows by his example, he guides us in difficult situations so that we can remain away from the offensive mentality and make advancement. This one? No, it's not becoming fully clear, but no, I will have to think about it. Not anybody has any thoughts? Someone go through any purports comment. In between the lines, if you could read something. What it appears to me that one has to learn Krishna consciousness, pure devotion service from the authorities by spontaneous loving service. So spontaneous loving service is the means by. It is not saying from the authorities who are practicing loving spontaneous service, or one should learn Krishna consciousness in spontaneous loving service by. That means from the authorities by spontaneous loving service. So that means that we work under the authorities and offer loving service spontaneously, voluntarily, and then that gives a revelation of pure devotion service or Krishna. That's how it is my understanding of it. That means when we are serving, the service is not with grudge. The service which is assigned to us, even in our sadhaka stage. So that Bhav Bhakti is a different category of bhakti altogether. It's a sadhya. It's a goal, and sadhana bhakti is the means. So bhakti is there, but actually sadhana bhakti is the means for bhava bhakti. That is quoted profusely in this book again and again in many levels. So when we say bhakti is the means and goal, we understand that one type of bhakti is the means, one type of bhakti is the goal. It's not the same. Sadhana bhakti is the means, bhava bhakti is the goal. And then further it ripens into pure bhakti. Bhava bhakti to pure bhakti is more of an automatic process. That same thing, same cultivation leads to intensify. It's like condensation. It's like we condense, ना वो दूध को बॉईल करते करते वो थोड़ा वासुंदी बनता है, फिर रबड़ी बनता है, फिर खोआ बन जाता है. तो वैसे ही है वो प्रोसेस. So what I gather from this, at least apparently, that a sadhaka has to render spontaneous loving service, means keeping reservations, keeping his mental speculations away, and a kind of spontaneity there. That is for Krishna, so I will do it. It's not that it is interfered by too much of his own logic reasoning, but that will distract him from a very because pure devotion service is ahatuke pratyata from very beginning. So beginning, when we bring boys into that, we may say, you practice chanting Hare Krishna so that, you will get good grades or things like that. Or some new person is coming in DYS, we may say, hey, course karo, tumhara sab mental anxiety nikal jayega, for 6 session. So we do that. But once the person has come, then he also understand, ये लोग कुछ ये तो बोलते हैं भौतिक इच्छाओं को जीरो करना है, ज्यादा टाइम नहीं लगता है. इस्कॉन में आते ही प्रभुपाद का कोई तो बुक पढ़ेगा, कोई भी बुक पढ़ेगा, कोई भी पेज पढ़ेगा ना. प्रभुपाद ने कभी मटेरियल पर्पस के लिए भक्ति को प्रमोट नहीं किया, नेवर. So that's why, and devotees also, more or less, if devotees are well trained, they also use it as a hook, get people, and they explain. That is why at the end of 6 sessions, out of 50 people, we remain with 5 people only. Okay, वो 5 को फिर भी थोड़ा लगता है कि घुमा फिरा के थोड़ा सा भक्ति से कुछ अच्छा हो जाएगा. और there are artho, artharthi and pious, so they get a relief just by the practice of bhakti. Their issues don't get sorted out. The issues don't get sorted out always, but they get a kind of relief feeling. लेकिन वो रिलीफ फीलिंग में फिर से वो छोड़ के भी जा सकता है, चल भी सकता है आगे. तो चलेगा वही जो समझ जाता है कि मुझे भगवान की सेवा भगवान की खुशी के लिए करना है, वो लंबी रेस का घोड़ा है. और जो भगवान की सेवा किसी और काम के लिए कर रहा है, वो थोड़ा चलेगा, रुकेगा, दाएं देखेगा, बाएं देखेगा, फिर सोचेगा, फिर थोड़ा आगे चलेगा, फिर दाएं बाएं देखेगा, वो बार बार. तो that's at least what I could gather, that pure devotion service, even in practice, there is a kind of spontaneity that I want to please my authority, please my guru, please Krishna. That feeling of pleasure is there because that's what makes it pure devotion service. But there are obstacles in that because it's not yet pure. That is why sadhana bhakti. Contaminated senses we are utilizing in service to Krishna. So senses contaminated hai to fir uska fark padega na. So that we will discuss in the definition further. Okay. This is Anushilanam.
This devotional service is a sort of cultivation. It is not simply inaction for people who like to be inactive or devote their time to silent meditation. There are many different methods for people who want this, but cultivation of Krishna consciousness is different. The particular word used by Srila Rupa Goswami in this connection is Anushilana, or cultivation by following the predecessor teachers, acharyas. As soon as we say cultivation, we must refer to activity. Without activity, consciousness alone cannot help us. All activities may be divided into 2 classes. One class may be for achieving a certain goal, and the other may be for avoiding some unfavorable circumstances. In Sanskrit, these activities are called pravritti and nivritti, positive and negative action. There are many examples of negative action. For instance, a diseased person has to be cautious and take medicine in order to avoid some unfavorable illness.
So it's a sort of cultivation. Cultivation, it's used in the sense of farming, growing something, like we are cultivating flowers or we are cultivating crops. It's a long-term activity. It is a combination of multiple things. There are something which need to be done and something which need to be avoided. It's not like a ATM machine where you press the button and tea, coffee or money comes out. It's not like that. Cultivation means it's a long-term process which includes many sub-parts, and at each stage, each aspect has to be done well to reach to the final thing. Just like imagine cultivating a crop. So first of all, the land has to be prepared, then the seed has to be put, then the rains have to come, then the fertilizer has to be put, then the pesticide has to be put, then the boundary has to be put so that the other animals don't destroy it. So much has to be done. At each stage, a specific thing has to be done, and that has to be done very well with the full understanding of how it will help. And then finally we get the crop, finally get the fruit. So it is not inaction, and it is not silent meditation. And then cultivation of Krishna, when he defined that, it refers to activity. Activity can be with body, mind, or words. All three are considered active senses. And they can be pravarti and nivritti. That means something which has to be done with the body, something which has to be thought in the mind, something which is to be done through words. And similarly, nivritti means something which is unfavorable, which has to be avoided. So he further goes on explaining this about the vocal pravarti and active action pravarti and mental pravarti and nivritti is in the same way. He described in this paragraph.
Here, Prabhuji, Anukulyena means we generally say favorable. Here, Prabhupada is using it as cultivation.
No. This is describing Anushilanam. Anukulyena will come further. He's talking of Anushilanam. Anushilanam means cultivation.
Okay.
First he's talking of cultivation, then he will talk of Anu. Anu means that we have to follow the previous acharyas and cultivate by following the previous acharyas.
Okay.
Like he said, Utsaha, Nishya, Dharya, Tat Karma Pravartanat. So Tat Karma Pravartanat, Sangatyaga, Satovritti. Satovritti means by following the previous acharyas. So like that it talks. This is Anushilanam.
Okay. Those who are cultivating spiritual life and executing devotional service are always engaged in activity. Such activity can be performed with the body or with the mind. Thinking, feeling, and willing are all activities of the mind. And when we will do something, the activity comes to be manifest by the gross bodily senses. Thus, in our mental activities, we should always try to think of Krishna and try to plan how to please him, following in the footsteps of the great acharyas and the personal spiritual masters. There are activities of the body, activities of the mind, and activities of the speech. A Krishna conscious person engages his words in preaching the glories of the Lord. This is called kirtan. And by his mind, a Krishna conscious person always thinks of the activities of the Lord as he is speaking on the battlefield of Kurukshetra or engaging in his various pastimes in Vrindavan with his devotees. In this way, one can always think of the activities and pastimes of the Lord. This is the mental culture of Krishna consciousness.
Very important, the mental culture of Krishna consciousness. In our mental activities, we should always try to think of Krishna, try to plan how to please him. It's a practice. As I told about cultivation, now why farming is becoming so difficult, because people don't have patience and they want it to automatize. Seed डाल दो, ज़्यादा झंझट नहीं होना चाहिए. And ऐसा नहीं कि हर दिन जाके कुछ करना है. डाल दो, seed डाल दो, pesticide छिड़क दो, एक बार बता दो, एक बार डाल के लगा के सब कर दो. So people want shortcuts, but cultivation is not shortcut. So similarly, we want that, it's not that one fine day, immediately, all of a sudden, all the material desires go away and the rasa and the bhava manifest in the heart. It's a cultivation. That means, we know what is the right thing to do and we are trying to do that. We failed to do that. Today we failed 90%. Yesterday, tomorrow we'll fail 80%. So this is all a cultivation. This is an ongoing process. It is not a ready-made finished product that just we go and buy by paying the price. It's a process in that. So that is why this is all cultivation. The mind has to be trained. That means we oftentimes when we do things, we forget about why we are doing, for whom we are doing, whom we are trying to please through doing that. So then, consciously some plan has to be made. कुछ तो लाइफ में एक दिन में कुछ तो ऐसा सोच के करने का कि मैं एक एक्टिविटी कॉन्शियसली गुरु महाराज को प्रसन्न करने के लिए करूँ, एक एक्टिविटी डिटीज की प्रसन्नता के लिए करूँ, कॉन्शियसली करूँगा. बाकी सब भी कर ही रहा हूँ, लेकिन बाकी सब हो जाता है, याद नहीं रहता है. लेकिन एटलीस्ट एक एक्टिविटी से शुरू करूंगा. So एक एक्टिविटी से शुरू करेंगे, then the consciousness will spread, and then gradually we'll come to do more and more activities for Krishna's pleasure. और वो मुश्किल होता है. कंसिस्टेंसी इज वेरी डिफिकल्ट इन दिस एज. बहुत बार परम पूज्य गोपाल कृष्ण महाराज के पूछा, आप लोगों से गीता कितने लोग पढ़ते हैं? हर रोज कितने लोग पढ़ते हैं? कौन लोग हैं जो हर दिन एक पेज पढ़ेंगे? हाँ, सब लोग हाथ उठाते हैं, एक श्लोक एक पेज पढ़ो आप, 1 दिन 2 दिन 4 दिन, और कुछ आ गया फेस्टिवल विजिट ट्रेवलिंग कुछ आ गया, उसके बाद पढ़ना तो भूल जाते हैं. ये भी भूल जाते हैं कि पढ़ने का हमने प्रॉमिस किया था. मतलब पढ़ना भी भूल जाते हैं और पढ़ने का जो प्रॉमिस है उसको भी भूल जाते हैं. You have that experience? या नए साल का रिजोल्यूशन, तो पहले तो वो जो रिजोल्यूशन है उसको करते नहीं है और फिर रिजोल्यूशन को भी भूल जाते हैं कि रिजोल्यूशन भी लिया है. सो इट्स कल्टिवेशन ऑफ mental culture. Okay, go ahead. Prabhupada writes further about bodily activities. Diksha Guru maybe. Personal spiritual master, both are personal. Diksha Guru, Shiksha Guru. Actually, gradually a devotee starts seeing the broadness. That means that everyone is in one side only. That means Hari Guru Vaishnavas are there, but they're all in one line. The Vaishnavas want to please Krishna, the Guru want to please Krishna, and Krishna want to please the servants, Guru and Vaishnavas. So it is not that by pleasing one others get displeased, or in pleasing one others are not included. Sometimes there may be something very specific we might do for a Siksha Guru or Diksha Guru. But usually their pleasure is when we do our bhakti only properly, when we chant properly, do our given service properly, then everyone is pleased. It's not so much of specialized, unless we are personally serving someone. Suppose we are serving Guru Maharaj in a personal way, personal servant. तो फिर उनको जो खिचड़ी चाहिए वो खिचड़ी देना पड़ेगा, उनको आप और कुछ देंगे तो that becomes very specialized. But in general, you know, suppose we are in kitchen, we are cooking, so we cook nicely for all Vaishnavas. So then all Vaishnavas are pleased, Guru is pleased, and Krishna is pleased. It's simple. So unless one is serving in a very specific way, personal way, till then it becomes very specialized, personalized. Otherwise, by doing the activities of devotion service only in proper conscience, and everyone is pleased. So there are not much differences in that aspect.
Similarly, we can offer many services with our bodily activities, but all such activities must be in relationship with Krishna. This relationship is established by connecting oneself with the bona fide spiritual master, who is the direct representative of Krishna in disciplic succession. Therefore, the execution of Krishna consciousness activities with the body should be directed by the spiritual master and then performed with faith. The connection with the spiritual master is called initiation. From the date of initiation by the spiritual master, the connection between Krishna and a person cultivating Krishna consciousness is established. Without initiation by a bona fide spiritual master, the actual connection with Krishna consciousness is never performed.
Yeah. So here Prabhupada highlights the importance of initiation as well accepting a spiritual master. And he said the execution of Krishna consciousness activity with the body should be directed by the spiritual master, then performed with faith. So initiation again has two aspects, as we say. There is a form and there is a substance of that. That means from the time we kind of accept ourselves as servant of our Guru and try to please him, serve him in that mood, that day we are initiated, we are disciple. And then there's a formal ceremony also when the name is changed, the mala is given, and the yajna is performed. And both are valuable. It is not that one is only important, other is to be neglected. But the substance is still more important and more essential than the forms. Form should also be there. It is not that form has no value, just like we talk about bottle and the water. So without water, the bottle is useless, but then the bottle also has the purpose of keeping the water inside. So similarly, the formality of initiation also has its own value. It is not to say that it is useless, but at the same time, it is known that the value is that of the internal part of connecting to the spiritual master, surrender to the spiritual master. So sometimes, people quote His Holiness Gopal Krishna Goswami Maharaj talking once to one devotee and saying that that many are initiated, but only few become disciples. So this quote is very popular in ISKCON these days. Many are initiated, but few are disciples, few become disciples. So that is the meaning, that initiation, if somebody just take form as all in all, then one is initiated, but still one is not getting a boost in bhakti. And at the same time, one is initiated, but also surrendered simultaneously, then he is surrendered disciple. He makes more advancement. And then Prabhupada talks about the highlight that this cultivation of Krishna consciousness is not a material thing. It is actually within the realm of the spiritual potency. And that's why Guru is very important, because Guru is the junction for Samvit, Sandhini, and Halladini Shakti. They all work through the medium of the spiritual master. And that is why within the literature you find we say Sakshat Haritvena Samastha Shastri. The Guru is Sakshat Hari, the representative of Lord Hari, Sakshat Haritvena Samastha Shastri. Similarly, we find the Guru is also a representative of Adi Guru, that is Balram. We said that Nityanand Prabhu is the original Guru, and we are all Gurus are getting power from Nityanand Prabhu, the Adi Guru. He represents Sandhini Shakti, and Krishna represents Samvit Shakti. Radharani represents Alladini Shakti. So Alladini Shakti also we talk about Nikunja Yunorati Keli Siddhe. So that Ballamji doesn't come in Kunjas and Nikunjas. Nikunja Yunorati Keli Siddhe. Yayali Bhiri Yuktir Apekshaniya Tatrati Dakshat Ativallabhasya. So Guru acts as a representative of Krishna, Balram, and Radharani. He represents all the three potencies. And that is why when we work under the instruction of Guru, then by his power, our activity becomes spiritualized when we offer it to him by his medium, otherwise not. And that is why the role of Guru is so very vital. Prabhupada was so emphatic about it in all his teachings, writings, speaking. Was very emphatic about that, because Guru is that junction which connects our material consciousness, material activities, and material mind and all with the divine spiritual energy and connection to Krishna and Balram and Radharani, and that makes our so-called apparently material activities spiritualized by his potency, by his power, by his instruction. So Prabhupada talks about that in this paragraph. Go ahead.
This cultivation of Krishna consciousness is not material. The Lord has three general energies, namely the external energy, the internal energy, and the marginal energy. The living entities are called marginal energy, and the material cosmic manifestation is the action of the external or material energy. Then there is the spiritual world, which is a manifestation of the internal energy. The living entities who are called marginal energy perform material activities when acting under the inferior external energy. And when they engage in activities under the internal spiritual energy, their activities are called Krishna conscious. This means that those who are great souls or great devotees do not act under the spell of material energy, but act instead under the protection of the spiritual energy. Any activities done in devotional service or in Krishna consciousness are directly under the control of spiritual energy. In other words, energy is a sort of strength, and this strength can be spiritualized by the mercy of both the spiritual master, bona fide spiritual master, and Krishna.
So, internal energy is Antaranga Shakti, which has three parts: Samvit, Sandhini, Alladini, and the external energy is Maya Shakti, which works through Avaranatmika Shakti and Prakshepatmika Shakti. And we are marginal energy, so we have to be in between. Either Maya ki or ya Yog Maya ki. Go ahead.
In Chaitanya Charitamrita by Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, Lord Chaitanya states that it is a fortunate person who comes in contact with the bona fide spiritual master by the grace of Krishna.
Kya words hai?
Brahmana Brahmana Kona Brahmana. Guru Krishna Prasad hota hai, Bhakti Latuki. One who is serious about spiritual life is given by Krishna the intelligence to come in contact with the bona fide spiritual master. And then by grace of the spiritual master, one becomes advanced in Krishna consciousness. In this way, the whole jurisdiction of Krishna consciousness is directly under the spiritual energy, Krishna and the spiritual master. This has nothing to do with the material world. When we speak of Krishna, we refer to Supreme Personality of Godhead, along with his many expansions. He is expanded by his plenary parts and parcels, his differentiated parts and parcels, and his different energies. Krishna, in other words, means everything and includes everything. Generally, however, we should understand Krishna to mean Krishna and his personal expansions. Krishna expands himself as Baladeva, Sankarshna, Vasudeva, Aniruddha, Pradyumna, Rama, Nrsimha, and Varaha, as well as many other incarnations and innumerable Vishnu expansions. These are described in Srimad Bhagavatam to be as numerous and uncountable ways. So Krishna include all such expansions as well as his pure devotees. In Brahma Samhita, it is stated, Brahma Samhita, it is stated that Krishna's expansions are all complete in eternity, blissful, and cognizance.
What is that sloka? The last one. Advaitam achyutam anadim ananta rupam adyam purana purusham navayovanam cha vedeshu durlabham adurlabham atma bhaktam. That's a sloka is quoted. So here he talked about Shilanam, then he talked about Anu, that Anu is the spiritual master and the acharyas, and then he talked about Krishna. When he say Krishna, it includes many things, but when we are talking of Krishna specifically, to mean Krishna and his personal expansions. Krishna Anu Shilanam. So cultivation for Krishna. Now he talks about Anukulena.
Devotional service means to prosecute Krishna conscious activities which are favorable to the transcendental pleasure of Supreme Lord Krishna, and any activities which are not favorable to the transcendental favor of Lord cannot be accepted as devotional service. For example, great demons like Ravana, Kamsa, and Hiranyakashipu were always thinking of Krishna, but they were thinking of him as their enemy. This sort of thinking cannot be accepted as bhakti or Krishna consciousness.
So this is more about Anukulena. Although Anushilanam kinds of includes some kind of favorable inclination, but still Anukulena is explicitly given to express the mood that the intention should be to please Krishna. While in the mode of Shilanam, the intention is not specifically highlighted. So here by adding Anukulena, that intention to please Krishna is highlighted. It's not accidental, it is not circumstantial, it is intentional. It is the person desiring to please Krishna.
Personally sometimes misunderstands devotional service in such a way that they divide Krishna from his paraphernalia and pastimes. For example, the Bhagavad Gita is spoken on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, and the impersonalist says that although Krishna is of interest, the battle of Kurukshetra isn't. The devotee, however, also know that the battle of Kurukshetra by itself has nothing to do with their business. But in addition, they know that Krishna does not mean just Krishna alone. He is always with his associates and paraphernalia. For instance, if someone says, "Give something to eat to the man with a weapon," the eating process is done by the man and not by the weapons. Similarly, in Krishna consciousness, a devotee may be interested in the paraphernalia and locations such as battlefield of Kurukshetra, which are associated with Krishna, but he is not concerned with simply any battlefield. He is concerned with person, his speech, his instructions, etc. It is because Krishna is there that the battlefield is so important.
Prabhupada uses this analogy in a different sense than Acharyas. Same analogy, but Prabhupada here is using this analogy about man with a weapon means Krishna along with his paraphernalia. Acharyas use otherwise, we'll discuss that later. Okay, go ahead.
This is the summary understanding of what Krishna consciousness is. Without this understanding, one is sure to misunderstand why the devotees are interested in the battlefield of Kurukshetra. One who is interested in Krishna becomes interested in his different pastimes and activities.
Right. Go ahead.
The definition of a pure devotee as given by Rupa Goswami in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu can be summarized thus. His service is favorable and is always in relation to Krishna. In order to keep the purity of such Krishna conscious activities, one must be freed from all material desires and philosophical speculation. Any desire except for the service of the Lord is called material desire. And philosophical speculation refers to the sort of speculation which ultimately arrives at a conclusion of voidism or impersonalism. This conclusion is useless for a Krishna conscious person. Only rarely by philosophical speculation can one reach the conclusion of worshipping Vasudeva Krishna. This is confirmed in Bhagavad Gita itself. Ultimate end of philosophical speculation then must be Krishna, with the understanding that Krishna is everything, the cause of all causes, and that one should therefore surrender unto him. If this ultimate goal is reached, then philosophical advancement is favorable. But if the conclusion of philosophical speculation is voidism or impersonalism, that is not bhakti.
So this is a Anyabilashita Shunyam and Gyan Karmadhi Anavritam. So specifically talking about Gyan Karmadhi Anavritam, the Gyan Anavritam, that Jnana should not be leading to voidism or impersonalism, but leading to understand that Bahunam Janmanamante Gyanvan Vam Prapadyate Vasudevam Sarvamiti Samahatma Sudurlabha. That Gyan one should cultivate. Okay, go ahead.
Fruitive activities are sometimes understood to be ritualistic activities. There are many persons who are very much attracted by the ritualistic activities described in the Vedas. But if one becomes attracted simply to ritualistic activities without understanding Krishna, his activities are unfavorable to Krishna consciousness. Actually, Krishna consciousness can be based simply on hearing, chanting, remembering, etc. Described in the Srimad Bhagavatam are 9 different processes, besides which everything done is unfavorable to Krishna consciousness. Thus, one should always be guarding against fall-downs. Srila Rupa Goswami has also mentioned in this definition of bhakti the word jnana karmadi. This karmadi fruitive work consists of activities which are unable to help one attain to pure devotional service. Many forms of so-called renunciation are also not favorable to Krishna conscious devotional service. Srila Rupa Goswami has also quoted a definition from the Narad Pancharatra as follows. One should be free from all material designations and by Krishna consciousness must be cleansed of all material contaminations. He should be restored to his pure identity in which he engages his senses in the service of the proprietor of the senses. So when our senses are engaged for the actual proprietor of the senses, that is called devotional service. In our conditional state, our senses are engaged in serving these bodily demands. When the same senses are engaged in executing the orders of Krishna, our activities are called bhakti.
So this is which verse? Same.
Sarvokshal.
Sarvadivinar Muktam Tatvaratya Nirmanam Rishikena Rishikesha Sevanam Bhakta Uchate. Last paragraph.
As long as one identifies himself as belonging to a certain family, a certain society, or a certain person, he is said to be covered with designations. When one is fully aware that he does not belong to any family, society, or country, but is eternally related to Krishna, he then realizes that his energy should be employed not in the interest of so-called family, society, or country, but in the interest of Krishna. This is purity of purpose and the platform of pure devotion service and Krishna consciousness.
This is purity of purpose. That means it depends on the identity, what we identify with. But as long as one is identifying with family, nation, person, society, that is upadhi, covered over. And when he knows that he is eternally a servant of Krishna, then he understands the service to Krishna is his actual platform. And that person who knows that and practices, although there may be flaws in his practice, there may be shortcomings in his practice, but still that practice is a part of pure devotional service. It makes him advance. And if a person is confused, he is covered over about the identity itself, then even his devotional activities will not give him the benefit of pure devotional service. So tomorrow we will, analyze it more, the primary characteristic of pure devotional service and the secondary characteristics. Then further, the 6 characteristics of pure devotional service we will discuss tomorrow. And let's see how it goes. So any comment, questions or additions with this part? Because somehow, I used to read every word about Prabhupada has written in that, so it goes in a different flow. But we will cover up details also what are required for our Bhakti Shastri understanding apart from reading the Prabhupada's words here. Yes. Yes.
Prabhuji.
Hmm. बोलो बोलो।
तो जी ये अनुशीलनम जो है और कल्टीवेशन बाय फॉलोइंग द प्रेडिसेसर टीचर्स आचार्य, अनुशीलनम का मतलब क्या है? उसमें मेन काम क्या है? कल्टीवेशन है, ये फॉलोइंग द प्रेडिसेसर्स आचार्य? मेन मतलब क्या है अनुशीलनम का?
Prabhupada defines that he quotes this in this verse also. He says that ब्रह्मांड भ्रमित कौन भाग्य, इसको कम कर दो, मुझे भी और लग इधर तो देख रहा है ना, उधर देखना ना उसको। हाँ बेटा, I also get scared seeing myself. Hearing my own sound, seeing myself. I don't know how all of you tolerate, but Prabhupada defined Brahmanda Brahmite Kono Bhagyavan Jeev Guru Krishna Prasade Pai Bhaktilata Pich. So by the mercy and grace of Krishna, one gets the Guru. And then the Guru and Krishna give him the seed. The seed is the right knowledge and the right set of activities. So that is to be cultivated. That means he has to engage his body, mind, and words as per the direction of the spiritual master. So spiritual master orders him, wake up early in the morning, attend Mangal Arati, attend class, do this. He does that. Shastri also instruct him, do Shravanam Kirtanam. Hear Bhagavatam class, do Kirtan. So Shravanam Kirtanam he does, the ninefold devotional activities. And in the mind he says, Man Manavo Bhadbhakto Madhya Jivanashka. So these are the instructions which are given by Krishna, also repeated by Guru. And cultivating the bodily, mental, and the vocal pravartis, and giving up all other things which will be coming eventually in the form of 64 items and the 44 offenses. So that is what the cultivation is. This is given by the acharyas, and we do follow these things, keeping in mind that we are not doing it mechanically, we are doing it because they are given by the acharyas and they will bring us closer to Krishna and they will please those acharyas. That is the cultivation which is done. This is anushilanam. That means while doing the right thing, which is given by the acharya, bona fide thing, we also remember their mercy upon us and we remember the connection in which we are executing those things. So this is not the 64 items automatically, mechanically being done will produce effect. No, they also have to be done with the right consciousness, understanding that my Guru has empowered me to do that and I am doing it so that he will be pleased. So in the process of deity worship or in the process of preaching, every time one has to cultivate that connection with Guru. I am preaching on behalf of Guru. I'm doing kirtan on behalf of Guru. I'm singing Mangal Arati on behalf of Guru. I'm doing deity worship. So, and everywhere there is a thing like Mangal Arati. What exactly is Mangal Arati? Mangal Arati is what? It's prayer to Guru Maharaj. No? So it is not that we are reciting and all of us are following something. No, we are personally offering this prayer. And that is why whether we are in train or bus or home or office, we should sing Mangal Arati because that's like our prayers to Guru Maharaj. But when we don't understand that, then we think मंगल आरती टेंपल में होता है ना 4:30 बजे, अब 4:30 बजे निकल गया तो अब क्या मंगल आरती हो? मंगल आरती निकल गया, निकला क्या मतलब? You have a connection with Guru and you offer that prayer. Similarly, Guru Puja. Guru Puja is our gratitude to the spiritual master, to Srila Prabhupada. So time खत्म हो गया तो क्या हो गया? उस टाइम में नहीं कर पाए तो बाद में करना. That is cultivation. That to actually follow these acts with conscious effort, that these are the acts which will bring me closer to Krishna because they are prescribed by the acharyas. So I try to do that, and I try to do that in that spirit. And that is why when pure devotees, very exalted devotees come, we become so attracted even by the small things. Like now, Gopal Krishna is coming. You just see him offering obeisances. Just nothing. Just watch him offering obeisances. And that itself is like overwhelming because, last time when he came, so we offered obeisances and we gave a flower to him. And, he offered flower, again offered obeisances. So we thought maybe one time. Then he went to Gaunita. So he offered obeisance, we gave a flower. And after flower, again he offered obeisance Gaunita. We understood. कि अगर महाराज फ्लावर ऑफर करेंगे तो बाद में obeisance तो महाराज को कह के पहले ही जाके मतलब जैसे ही राधा वृंदावन के सामने के तुरंत फ्लावर दे दिए. For them it is not a calculation कि अभी किया ना अभी क्या. हम लोग कितना बार करते हैं मंगल आरती में, मतलब ये दर्शन आरती में तीनों को फिर से करते हैं क्या? एक बार प्रभुपाद घूमे तो एक बार सिर को लगा दिया, बोलते तो कुछ है नहीं, वो सिर को लगा दिया क्योंकि आजू बाजू में लोग देख रहे हैं, सब प्रभुपाद को प्रणाम कर रहे हैं और चलो परिक्रमा करते. तीनों को करते हैं कि फ्लावर ऑफर करके नहीं करते ना. तो बिकॉज दैट लव इज डेवलप्ड. सो नाउ इट्स नॉट लाइक मैंने एक बार किया, 2 बार किया, मेरे बॉडी को इतना प्रॉब्लम है, और ऐसे नहीं बोलते कुशन गायन लेके आओ. तो हम लोग लगाते हैं तो उस पर वो पैर रखते हैं, नहीं है तो ही विल जस्ट डू इट एनीवे. So that is offering obeisances. So that he is doing because he's seen Prabhupada, how Prabhupada offered obeisances. So ye parampara hai. When we learn to see in parampara how our acharyas have been doing this simple acts of devotion service, that inspires us. So क्या करते हैं ऐसे आप ऐसा इन लोगों का फोटो खींचने के लिए क्यों इतना भीड़ लगता है? सेम चीज कर रहे हैं ना, कार में बैठे हैं, कीर्तन आ रहे हैं, क्लास में आ रहे हैं, क्यों इतना भीड़ साथ से चलता है? चल भी रहे तो 50 लोग पीछे चलते हैं. So their every act is imbued with love for Krishna. So that is cultivation, to do things in a way that pleases our spiritual master and Krishna. Even simple acts of bhakti. Bhakti Maharaj gave the whole class. Na? He says the small acts in bhakti are not small because they are indicative of the right consciousness in bhakti. So small things are not small. Big things are okay, but small things also have the same depth. So cultivation, Anushilana, means that we do it in a way that our Guru is pleased, Krishna is pleased, and we do it very consciously. And that consciousness has to be cultivated. अभी क्या है वो करते करते मैकेनिकल हो जाता है. पहले दिन गोविंदम आदि पुरुषम सुना तो एकदम ऐसा मतलब all of us, I believe the first time, second time you hear that, it's like you really feel it's out of the world. Even now when the new people come, they don't know the words. Practically in ISKCON 90% of the people recite these two verses wrongly. आप कभी सुनो कुछ तो उसको समझ ही नहीं आता because but they like it. Many you just see closely many grastas, matajis or children or old people. Venum, Kavantam, Arvinda, what all varieties they sing, you know. क्या क्या वैरायटी में गाते हैं वो अपने आप में एक थीसिस है. लेकिन इतना डिलाइट हो जाते हैं ना ऐसा that whole music and the tune and Yamuna Mataji's sound, and new people can never follow it. The Sanskrit words, no? So when we come newly, then we are delighted, and every small act we feel a great joy in doing that and feel a great reciprocation. But over a period of time, that tendency is to become mechanical. That is why Anushilana. Again and again we have to calibrate. Am I doing it the way my Guru wants me to do it? Am I doing it in the way, in the consciousness my Guru wants me to do it? Am I doing it with the desire to please Krishna, Anukulyena, intentionally pleasing Krishna? Am I saying, my dear Lord, this is a flower I am offering. Please be pleased with this flower offering. The flower मिला ना घुमा के रख दो. I mean, many times it becomes mechanical. Many times. But are we saying, my dear Lord, you have told Patram Pushpam Phalam Toyam. Now I've got this Pushpam. Now I'm offering it for your pleasure. I know it is produced by you only, but I'm still offering it back. Or do we say, like Prabhupada says, Radharani, we are offering to Radharani, my dear mother. Please offer that to your Krishna. You know that other Stami lecture Prabhupada made the famous statement that when we offer a flower, we are actually giving it to Radharani, because she can offer. Krishna doesn't reject her offering. Are these feelings there in our mind? Do we know all the 16 symbols on the lotus feet of Krishna? तो बड़ा चीज नहीं है. इतना हमने इंजीनियरिंग में इतना कुछ याद किया है, इतना केमिस्ट्री के बेंजीन का फॉर्मूला याद किया है और इतना बड़े बड़े इक्वेशंस याद किए हैं. तो ऐसा कुछ नहीं है कि 16 सिंबल याद करना कोई बड़ी चीज है. लेकिन वी डोंट फील कि इसमें कुछ बड़ा चीज है. लेकिन यही बड़ा चीज है भक्ति में, यही है. These are उद्दीपन. इन स्पिरिचुअल वर्ल्ड वो कृष्णा का एक बाल कैसे हवा के आने से उड़ा, इसके ऊपर ही पूरे वृंदावन में चर्चा होती है. Once Radha told that in one lecture, how that breeze comes and one hair of Krishna slightly moves, that becomes the talk of Vrindavan for one day. हमको लगेगा ये कोई है क्या बात? That is why we are not there. This is Anushilan, cultivation. Doing things in order to please Guru, remembering that this is the instruction of the Guru, and intentionally trying to please Krishna, that is Anushilan, part of Anushilan.
प्रभु जी एक चीज और पूछनी थी. थैंक यू प्रभु जी. वो जो आप बता रहे थे ना, वो क्या कहते हैं, डिजायर फुलफिल हो जाते हैं. एक स्लाइड में कुछ आया था, तो वो मेरे को समझ नहीं आया. डिजायर तो मटेरियल डिजायर तो होनी नहीं चाहिए ना.
That's why I'm saying that
डिवोशनल की डेफिनेशन के हिसाब से.
हाँ, that's why it's told ना. I purposefully showed that words because मुझे पता था कि वो आएगा. लिखा है ना, प्रॉपर नहीं लिखा है, प्रीफेस में लिखा है. In this way, the devotee can fulfill all his desires and live happily in this life. क्या होता है कि devotee बनने के बाद वो समझ जाता है कि material desires are not conducive for me. प्रॉपर लिखे ना, अभी लास्ट पैराग्राफ में क्या लिखे? The one who has given up all upadhis, you know, and he understands that he is the eternal servant of Krishna. He only can serve Krishna nicely, cultivate pure devotion service. So same way, when devotee truly understands, then he understands where I desire है, इसमें कुछ सब्सटेंस नहीं है, लेकिन मेरा मन नहीं मान रहा है. तो उसके लिए वो क्या करता है, वो अपना बोनाफाइड वे में मन को समझाने के लिए उसको पूरा करने का जो वैदिक पैराडाइम, जो कृष्णा कॉन्शियस के अंदर जो प्रोग्राम है, वो कर लेता है. तो उससे डिजायर फुलफिल होता है ना उसको. In one way, that desire gets fulfilled, but that is not his original desire. That is not the goal of his life to fulfill that desire. Same thing with respect to ashram I gave, na? वो गृहस्थ को भी पक्का पता रहता है कि मुझे शुद्ध भक्त बनना है, मुझे भगवतधाम अकेले ही जाना है. Wife, he also sing that song. What is that song? भजो रे मन श्री नंदन नंदन. आपको लगता है गृहस्थ लोग नहीं गाते उसको? गाते हैं ना? ए धन यौवन पुत्र परिजन इथे की आछे परतीति रे कमल दल जल जीवन टलमल भजहु हरिपद. उसको पता है कि ये सब नहीं है, लेकिन उसको अभी वो उस लेवल पर नहीं है. तो देन ही डज इट इन ए कृष्णा कॉन्शियस वे. सो ही फुलफिल्स द डिजायर, एंड बाय कृष्णा मर्सी may get a good wife and good children, or he may get another variety. In either way, he feels it is Krishna's mercy and he get purified. Abhi, this our Prabhuji's class was very enlightening. Anandanand's class, I made the whole notes of that. And he was telling कि जब आप आश्रम के थ्रू जाते हैं ना, प्यूरिफिकेशन होता है. जब आश्रम को अवॉइड करते हैं ना, प्यूरिफिकेशन नहीं होता. Of course, this thing was told by Kadam Karan Maharaj, his personal servant telling. But he was telling कि आपको जो पता है ना, आपको पता है कि मैरिज में कोई सुख नहीं है, कुछ नहीं है. लेकिन जब आप 35 साल वो मैरिज के साइकिल के अंदर जाके आते हैं ना, तो आपको जो 35 साल पहले पता था, वो 35 साल बाद आपको उसका एक कन्विक्शन, एक रियलाइजेशन आता है कि ये वास्तविकता है. पता तो आपको उस समय भी था, लेकिन 35 साल के रगड़ने के बाद, मेहनत करने के बाद, तब समझ में आता है कि ये सब फ्यूटाइल है, सब वेस्ट ऑफ टाइम है. लेकिन वो करने के बाद जब आपने रेस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी लिया, और रेस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी नहीं लिया उसमें भी, तो फिर भी रियलाइजेशन नहीं आएगा. पूरा रेस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी लेने के बाद ये रियलाइजेशन आता है कि मैरिज लाइफ एंड फैमिली लाइफ इज ऑल वेस्ट ऑफ टाइम, बिकॉज द रियल गोल इज टू जस्ट सर्व कृष्णा फुल फ्लेजेडली. लेकिन वो रियलाइजेशन ऐसे नहीं आएगा, थ्योरेटिकली आएगा. Then after 35 years, he said, now we can give the family life aside and now we can fully dedicate. अभी 64 माला करते हैं, बुढ़ाकेश को 128 माला करते हैं. ब्रह्मचारी नहीं कर पाएगा, ब्रह्मचारी को टाइम भी दिया तो भी नहीं कर पाएगा, क्योंकि माइंड में डिजायर भरा हुआ है. अभी कैसे कर, माइंड में डिजायर भरा हुआ है ना अभी भी. बट उनका क्या है कि दे लिव थ्रू दैट लाइफ. नाउ दे नो. आप सोचो 128 माला के समय मन कहाँ नहीं जाएगा, है ना. तो दैट इज वाई कि desire fulfilled, he does it in a Krishna conscious paradigm. That's why I gave the horse analogy. His goal is still fixed, but he knows that my senses are too adamant. So he does something which gives the senses a little flexibility, and then he can. एकादशी का एग्जाम्पल ले लो. हर आदमी का अपना अपना मेनू है, वो अपना हिसाब से खाएगा. कुछ लोग 3 टाइम खाएंगे, कुछ लोग 1 टाइम खाएंगे, कुछ लोग फ्रूट लेंगे, कुछ लोग निर्जल करेंगे. जो जैसा कर पा रहा है उसको करने तो. कुछ लोग 64 करेंगे, 32 करेंगे, 25 करेंगे माला. कुछ लोग कीर्तन ज्यादा करेंगे, 4 घंटे कीर्तन करेंगे. बट वॉट एवर वे, सो दैट वे वॉट एवर हिज इंक्लिनेशन इज एबल टू फुलफिल दैट. सो वी आर नॉट टॉकिंग ऑफ निषेध कर्मा, वी आर नॉट टॉकिंग ऑफ द मटेरियल डिजायर्स, वी आर टॉकिंग ऑफ ए डिवोटी फुलफिलिंग डिजायर. सो व्हेन वी से डिवोटी, मतलब ये है कि उसका डिजायर जो है वो विद इन द पैराडाइम ऑफ कृष्णा कॉन्शियस हो गया, वो ऑलरेडी बाय डिफॉल्ट हो गया. अब आप बोलेंगे डिवोटी है लेकिन उसको चाय पीने का इच्छा, वो कैसे फुलफिल करेगा? नहीं, डिवोटी है मतलब चाय पीने का इच्छा नहीं है उसको. चाय पीने का इच्छा है मतलब वो डिवोटी नहीं है अभी तक, वो अभी तक समझा नहीं है उसको. तो दैट्स व्हाई आई गिव दैट purport is a very enlightening purport. Raisham took a whole class on that. That how he manages, उसको है कुछ है तो थोड़ा प्योर डिवोशन सर्विस के पैराडाइम में करता है ना. प्योर डिवोशन सर्विस के पैराडाइम में करता है, अंडर द इंस्ट्रक्शन करता है, पूछ के करता है. ऐसा है थोड़ा, ऐसा है थोड़ा, ये जम नहीं रहा है, ये चलेगा. जो अपना प्रसादम टेबल में उसी में से वो अपना कॉकटेल बनाता है. वो थोड़ा सिंगदाना चटनी के अंदर तेल डाल के, थोड़ा मसाला डाल के, उसी में से करेगा. लाल मिर्च, हरी मिर्च का मसाला निकाल के. ऐसा नहीं है कि गोविंदा से जाके लेके आएगा. गोविंदा से जाके लेके आएगा तो प्रॉब्लम है, फिर प्योरिफिकेशन नहीं होगा. इसके अंदर अलाउड है ना उतना, जो टेबल पे आ गया वो सब बोनाफाइड है. उसी में थोड़ा अचार में मिर्ची लगे, मतलब मिर्ची डालो, नींबू नहीं चाहिए, मिर्ची चाहिए मुझे. उसने डिवोटी को दे रहा था, बोला नींबू और मिर्ची का मिक्स अचार है ना वो, तो बोला मिर्ची चाहिए, नींबू नहीं चाहिए. तो वो बोनाफाइड है. लेकिन गोविंदा पहुंच गया, माता जी को फोन करके बोला माता जी इधर क्या प्रसाद में थोड़ा ये नहीं है, थोड़ा वो मिर्ची वाला मसाला वाला अचार भेजो, तो मतलब वो बाहर जाएगा. फिर वो मर्यादा से बाहर हो गया. तो 2 टाइमर 3 टाइमर जो भी है दोनों में वो सब मर्यादा में. तो मर्यादा के अंदर उसका इच्छा है थोड़ा तीखा खाना है, आज माइंड थोड़ा डिस्टर्ब है, कुछ खा ले. तो दे आर ऑल विद इन द रेलम ऑफ प्योर डिवोशन सर्विस. प्योर डिवोशन सर्विस नॉट लाइक ए मिलिट्री थिंग है, तुम गन पॉइंट है, कुछ इच्छा है ना शूट कर दूंगा, ऐसा नहीं है. इट्स ए प्रोसेस. आई विल टेक दैट कॉन्टेक्ट 11, 20, 27 इसी में आता है. 27, 21 कृष्णा सेज माय डिवोटी ऑल्दो ट्राइंग टू प्रैक्टिस फेल्स, but he never gives up my service. He laments. but he still remains attached to my service. तो ये एक स्ट्रगल है. तो कभी कभी हम जब बाइनरी में मोड में रहते हैं ना तो समझ नहीं पाते डिजिटल मोड में. या तो मैं प्योर भक्त हूं, मतलब कुछ कंटिन्यूटी डिजाइन नहीं, या मेरे अंदर डिजायर है. प्रोसेस में है ना, अभी परफेक्शन में नहीं पहुंचे. Even yogis are like that. There is yoga rude stage and there is yoga ruruksha stage, which Krishna talks in the 6th chapter. दो stages हैं उसमें भी clearly. तो ऐसे एक साधना स्टेज है, एक साध्य स्टेज है. तो हम लोग साधना स्टेज में ना अभी, तो ये सारी चीजें स्ट्रगल रहता है साधना में. But that doesn't mean that we are not aspirants or practicing a pure devotional service, as long as we are within this boundary. बाउंड्री जो मर्यादा दिया है ना, जिस आश्रम का मर्यादा दिया है, जिस वर्ण का आश्रम, गुरु का जितना आज्ञा का मर्यादा, उसके अंदर कर रहे हैं तो ठीक है. आपका डिजायर भी फुलफिल हो गया तो कृष्णा ही नहीं कहता कि नहीं कुछ करने का ही नहीं है. कृष्णा loves his devotee, likes to see his devotees happy. That's a very wonderful thing. Krishna likes to see his devotees happy. And devotee want Krishna, oh, how can I please you? And Krishna says, what will please you? So it's a very internal, very sweet dynamics. Krishna doesn't force. That is why Krishna says, कुछ भी चलेगा, पत्रम पुष्पम से लेके, रत्न और मणिक और सोना चांदी, वो सब चलेगा कुछ, क्योंकि he is looking for what can become the means for offering a love. जैसे आप घर जाना है, तो घर जाना है तो मतलब तो बोले बेटा घर आ जाओ. अब आप चाहे बस पकड़ के जाओ, ट्रेन पकड़ के जाओ या फ्लाइट से जाओ, वो एक सेकेंडरी मीन्स है. उनका पर्पज है आप घर आ गए. उनका खुशी आपके घर आने से है. उनका खुशी वो नहीं है किस बस का नंबर क्या था जिस बस से घर आए, उसके क्या करना है. वो फ्लाइट में कैप्टन कौन था उसका कुछ लेना देना नहीं है. So similarly, all other things what we utilize, they are all means, they are all vehicles for offering our bhava, our affection for Krishna. That's why Krishna is not too concerned about them. किसने, और उसमें अचीवमेंट का भी कंसर्न नहीं है कृष्ण की, किसने कितने भक्त बनाए. भाई कुछ स्पिरिचुअल मास्टर 70,000 डिसाइपल्स हैं, कुछ स्पिरिचुअल मास्टर के 7 ही डिसाइपल. तो क्या इसका मतलब ऐसा थोड़ी है कि ये कम है 7 वाला कम है 70,000, ऐसा नहीं है. There are spiritual masters who are just 70 disciples. I know them. 70. उनका YouTube चैनल भी नहीं है, फॉलोअर्स भी नहीं है. तो ऐसा नहीं है कि वो कृष्ण, they are pleasing Krishna. Some spiritual masters don't give initiation also. तो ऐसा नहीं है कि कृष्ण नॉट प्लीज विद देम. कृष्ण के लिए कोई मेटल कंसिडरेशन, कोई अचीवमेंट, अकम्प्लिशमेंट, कोई एक्सटर्नल से मतलब ही नहीं होंगे. इंटरनल है. तो वही पॉइंट बार बार हाईलाइट करना जरूरी है, क्योंकि हम लोग इंस्टीट्यूशन के अंदर पढ़े लिखे लोग हैं, पैशनेट लोग हैं, तो आ जाता है अपने आप में. बाहर ही वो बड़ा इफेक्ट कर देता है हमको, बाहर वाला जो एक्सटर्नल फॉर्म है. तो इसलिए थोड़ा मैं उस साइड में ज्यादा रहता हूँ. वी ऑल अकम्प्लिशमेंट, अचीवमेंट हमारे भाग्य में लिखा है, क्योंकि बाहर जाके कंपनी चलाने वाले थे ना, बाहर जाके 2 लाख महीना कमाने वाले थे, कंपनी चलाने वाले थे, और नाम पूजा लाभ प्रतिष्ठा मिलने वाला था. तो वो इधर भी मिलेगा, इस्कॉन में भी मिलेगा, बिना कुछ किए भी मिलेगा. तो वो तो मिलेगा ही मिलेगा. लेकिन हमको, हमने आपको अपना कॉन्शियसनेस को वी हैव टू डाइवर्ट इन द डायरेक्शन वेयर वी डोंट एस्पायर फॉर. ये तो आएगा ही. आपका भक्ति कैसा भी हो, जब कैसा भी हो, पूजा लाभ प्रतिष्ठा तो आने वाला ही है. पूना के हर भक्त को मिलने वाला है, गारंटी है. पूना में आ गए मतलब मिलने वाला है. जैसे कोई भी हो, IIT का आदमी फेल भी हो तो भी वो बड़ा वैल्यू है उसका. IIT में फेल होते हैं ना लोग, लेकिन आया है कुछ तो जुगाड़ करके आ गया है. फेल भी हुआ तो क्या पता, 5 साल निकलने के बाद कौन पूछता है फेल हुए के पास हो. तो सबका चलता है. तो ऐसे ही पूना में आ गए, पूना के ब्रह्मचर्य आश्रम में आ गए, तो पूजा लाभ प्रतिष्ठा हर एक को मिलेगा, किसी को मिलेगा, कोई भी हो, कुछ भी करता हो, मिलेगा उसको, गारंटीड है. अब मुझे एक नाम बताओ, मैं बताता हूँ उसके कितने फॉलोअर्स हैं क्या है. ऐसे लोग हैं, मुझे भी नहीं पता था कि इन लोगों के भी इतने कनेक्शंस हैं और इतना कल्टीवेशन है. 25 लोग तो कैंपस प्रीचिंग कर रहे हैं, सबके पास 10-20 बच्चे हैं, सब लोग यात्रा लेके जाते करते हैं. तो सब होगा, सबके पास आएगा. पूना में तो गारंटेड आएगा, बाकी जगह मैं नहीं कह सकता. So we don't want that. We want to rise beyond that. When it comes, it comes. It's आ गया. It's not like that we think, मैं प्रोग्राम सुबह की जगह शाम को शिफ्ट करूंगा. तो क्या कॉन्शियस, अरे महाराज आ रहे हैं, आपको महाराज के लिए बुलाना चाहिए. तो ये सब कंटिन्यूएशन है. पूजा लाभ प्रतिष्ठा का वो बोलते हैं ना, बुखार चढ़ जाता है, नशा चढ़ जाता है, वैसा हो जाता है. हम भूल जाते हैं प्रिंसिपल को. भाई महाराज को एक बार आदमी देख लेगा ना, तो आपका जो 10 साल तक क्लास बैठ के सुनता रहेगा उससे ज्यादा वेरीफाई हो जाएगा. लेकिन वो समझ में नहीं आता लोगों को. उनको लगता है कि मेरा क्लास मिस हो जाएगा, कंटिन्यूटी ब्रेक हो जाएगा. क्या है? Anyway, this is not specific for anything, anyone or anything. I'm just telling that how once we done Bhakti Shastri and अगर हो गया ना, तो फिर कभी रिविजिट नहीं करते. तो क्या हो जाता है कि एक बार वो 1 डिग्री वाला डाइवर्जन आ गया है ना, तो फिर वो कहाँ पहुंचेगा पता नहीं। और सैफरन मिलने के बाद, बाकी सीनियर होने के बाद कोई बताता नहीं है कि क्या करना चाहिए, और बताओ तो भी लोग नाराज हो जाते हैं। तो वो बताने वाला भी नहीं बताता है क्या होता है उसको नहीं समझ पाता। एंड भक्ति इज रेयर ना, सुदुर्लभता उसका रहेगा ही रहेगा। ऐसा नहीं है कि इतना अभी इस्कॉन में इतने लोग आ गए, महाप्रभु के मिशन में आ गए तो सब लोग शुद्ध भक्त बन जाएंगे, नहीं। शुद्ध भक्ति इज सुदुर्लभ, दैट्स वन ऑफ इट्स क्वालिटी, इट्स वेरी वेरी रेयर, दैट्स व्हाई नॉट मेनी पीपल विल बी एबल टू कैप्चर इट। हमें प्रभुपाद इतना ठोक ठोक के बोला है तो भी नहीं समझेंगे, जब तक प्रयास नहीं करेंगे, जब तक थोड़ा कंटेम्पलेशन नहीं करेंगे, सोचेंगे नहीं, सुनेंगे नहीं, तब तक नहीं समझ पाएंगे। प्रयास करना चाहिए, और मैं तो मेरा प्रयास कर रहा हूँ, मेरे प्रयास में आप लोगों को भी थोड़ा यू नो शेयरिंग मिल रहा है। तो मेरा कुछ ऐसा नहीं कि यू सॉ दैट आई रेड एवरीथिंग, आई हैव हाइलाइटेड, आई हैव अंडरलाइन, लेकिन वो नहीं होता क्योंकि उस लेवल का रियलाइजेशन नहीं है ना, उस लेवल का कंटेम्पलेशन रियलाइजेशन नहीं है। प्रभुपद का कनेक्ट कर पाता हूँ, इसलिए that's why I will not like I will keep Prabhupada teaching as the mainstream and go little bit here and there to explain them. हालांकि पढ़ लिया, सब पढ़ लिया, हाईलाइट कर लिया, सब पढ़ के नोट्स बन गए, आते नहीं, वो रियलाइजेशन नहीं, वो क्या करेंगे, हाईलाइट नहीं हो पाता। But Prabhupada's message I can relate somehow or other, to some degree, and that's what I can share. I can't take too much of tension just to teach or something. Relax रहेगा, आप भी रिलैक्स रहो, मैं भी रिलैक्स हूँ। पढ़ेंगे आप, बहुत लोगों का लेक्चर, अभी तो रिकॉर्डेड लेक्चर है ना, इसे रिकॉर्डिंग सब डिलीट करूंगा बाद में बैठ के। अभी तो आई डोंट कीप रिकॉर्डिंग ऑफ माय लेक्चर्स एट ऑल, जरूरत नहीं है ना, इतने लोगों ने इतना अच्छे से पढ़ाई की दृष्टि से समझा है। आई एम जस्ट स्पीकिंग सम ब्रोकन वर्ड्स, आई डोंट हैव मच ऑफ थिंग्स। एनीवे, नाउ लेट्स स्टॉप हियर, मीट टुमारो। हरे कृष्ण। नेक्टर ऑफ डिवोशन ऑफ भक्ति रसामृत सिंधु की जय, श्री रूप गोस्वामी की जय, श्री प्रभुपाद की। Well, I've not heard, maybe I will have to see technical. उच्चते उत्तम कोई भी हो, अभी तक मैंने वो मैंने नहीं सुना। I have to ask somebody. हाँ, भक्ति में डिफरेंस है, वो क्लियर है। देखो, सामान्य भक्ति में क्या है कि अगर आप अनुकूल रूप से कर रहे हैं और कृष्ण अनुशीलन भी कर रहे हैं, हाँ, अनुकूल है ना, कृष्ण अनुशीलन वो हो गया, कृष्ण के लिए हो गया, अनुशीलन हो गया। लेकिन अगर मेटेरियल डिजायर है, डिजायर इज देयर टू गेट मैरिड, टू गेट, तो भक्ति से भी होता है ना, क्योंकि भगवान विष्णु की भी वर्शिप जो कर सकते हैं वो लोग भक्ति कर सकते हैं, उसको भक्ति कहते हैं। जब लोग भगवान के पास जाते हैं विद द डिजायर टू फुलफिल दैट डिजायर, वो भक्ति कहते हैं। ध्रुव महाराज ने किया तो भक्ति किया, लेकिन शुद्ध भक्ति नहीं किया। अब शुद्ध भक्ति, उत्तम भक्ति, मुझे तो लगा ये सिनोनिमस ही है, लेकिन टेक्निकल डिफरेंस को सब देखते। तो अगर वो भगवान के प्लेजर के लिए नहीं है, हालांकि भगवान के लिए है, फेवरेबल वे में है, लेकिन कुछ डिजायर है, तो वो प्योर डिवोशन से भक्ति, सामान्य भक्ति। सामान्य भक्ति का तो डेफिनेशन ही नहीं देती, केटरिंग टू द लेवल ऑफ ऑडियंस, उस लेवल तक ला कर दिया। सामान्य भक्ति का डिस्कशन नहीं किया, बट सेकेंडरी कैरेक्टरिस्टिक मेक इट प्योर। तो जो पहला 3 कैरेक्टरिस्टिक आता है, कृष्ण के लिए है और शीलनम है और अनुकूल है, तो वो केवल उसको सामान्य भक्ति है। और ये जो प्योर 2 कैटेगरी और लगा देते हैं, 2 फिल्टर और, ज्ञान कर्मादि अनामृतम है, अन्य अभिलाषिता शून्य, ये उसको प्योर डिवोशन सर्विस बना देते, नहीं तो वो केवल डिवोशन सर्विस है। इट्स सिंपल। हाँ, वो तो भक्ति है ना, लेकिन डिजायर है ना, उसको कुछ डिजायर पूरा करना है। ध्रुव महाराज का कृष्ण के लिए किया, सब किया, लेकिन उसको काउंट नहीं करते, क्योंकि वो क्या हुआ, शुरू जब किया था तो डिजायर था, किंगडम चाहिए, किया वही प्रोसेस, ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवा किया, गुरु के अंतर्गत किया, लेकिन शुरू में डिजायर था इसलिए शुद्ध भक्ति के एग्जाम्पल में नहीं करते, उनको अर्थार्थी के एग्जाम्पल में डालते हैं।
अनुकूल्य में जो क्वालिटी है, अगर वो है, अगर सपोज वो नहीं है, person like for example, take example Ravan है, Kamsa, he was always thinking, but not in so that doesn't bring him into bhakti or doesn't bring him to bhakti.
Doesn't bring him to उत्तम भक्ति। तो भक्ति तो है, वो बोलते हैं ना कि वो भक्ति है। हाँ, प्रभुपाद ने क्या किया है? प्रभुपाद ने जैसे कि 3rd चैप्टर है भगवद गीता का, तो वो कर्म हो गए, लेकिन प्रभुपाद 3rd चैप्टर 5th चैप्टर के पर्पट एक जैसे ही लिखे। तो प्रभुपाद जब डिवोशन सर्विस भक्ति भी लिखते हैं तो प्रभुपाद रेफरेंसेस टू शुद्ध भक्ति, प्रभुपाद रेफरेंस। ऐसे क्या है कि उनको अनुकूलन नहीं है तो उसको एक तरह का भक्ति कैटेगरी में मानते हैं, तभी उनको ये प्राप्त हो जाता है, मोक्ष प्राप्त हो जाता है। तो भक्ति का जो एलिमेंट है ना, वो एलिमेंट के बिना तो कुछ भी काम नहीं करेंगे, कर्मी योग ना अष्टांग योग नहीं है। तो वो जो एलिमेंट है, उस एलिमेंट में वो पर्सनलिज्म आता है, दैट मींस ही इज ट्राइंग टू प्लीज द लॉर्ड, बट ही हैज नो पर्सनल अंडरस्टैंडिंग द लॉर्ड, एंड अलोंग विद प्लीजिंग द लॉर्ड इज मेनी अदर थिंग्स टू डू। भाई कर्मी ज्ञानी योगी तीनों को जो है ना रिजल्ट भक्ति देवी ही देती, और कोई भक्ति के अलावा और कोई उनको रिजल्ट नहीं दे सकता, उनको प्रोसेस में बल नहीं। तो वो तो होता है लेकिन शुद्ध नहीं होता है, तो भी भक्ति देवी बोलती है कि चलो इनको कुछ चाहिए ना दे दो, देती भक्ति देवी। तो बिना भक्ति के एलिमेंट के कुछ नहीं मिलेगा। इवन जिनको ब्रह्मज्योति में जाना है वो भी भक्ति का ही एक एलिमेंट लेके डिटी वर्शिप करेंगे, फॉर्म बनाएंगे, लेकिन उनको फेथ नहीं है, वो नहीं है कि ये कृष्ण इटर्नल पर्सन है, नहीं तो वो भी नहीं मिलेगा। मायावादी दर कृष्ण अपराधी, ब्रह्मवादी दर नॉट अपराधी, ब्रह्मवादी दर जस्ट दे आर नॉट अट्रैक्टेड that verse of 4 Kumara Sukdev Goswami. That is there. So Brahmavadi, Mayavadi is the Krishna. Mayavadi go to hell. Mayavadi never go to Brahmajyoti. So Yeshu Prashna ne padha tha na कि Mayavadis go to hell only because they have such a, they are offenders. Brahmavadis are not offended, but they are just not attracted. But they are not attracted. That is not the goal of their life, to worship deity eternally or to chant the holy name eternally. But they do it as a means. Temporarily they do it. So there is a bhakti element. But there is no continuity in that. They use bhakti to achieve their goal. And bhakti also gives them the goal.
So really that example of Prahlad Maharaj, before past life we many times hear that he went at some particular Nrsimha Dev by
तो दोनों होता है, उसको कैसे डिफाइन करते हैं कि कुछ नित्य सिद्ध होते हैं और कुछ साधना सिद्ध उनके अंदर आ जाए। So they concept like that. Narad Muni का भी ऐसे बताता है। Narad Muni is an eternal devotee, not that this kalpa only we can see. तो वो एक साधना सिद्ध comes in the body of a nitya siddha also. Prahlad Maharaj is an eternal devotee of Lord Nrsimha Dev, worshipping on Kim Purusha होता है, Kim Purusha लोग हनुमान जी, दूसरा कोई लोग वहाँ पे worship करते हैं, और eternally Lord Nrsimha Dev is there in planet वहाँ पे वो 400 Vishnu form है, common है, ऐसे वरादेव वगैरह सब, they are all in Vishnu form. But when they come here for the specific pastime to attract the heart of the devotee, they take those forms. तो वहां पे प्रहलाद महाराज भी, तो वहां के प्रहलाद महाराज भी आते हैं, और जो जीवा परफेक्ट हो गया है नरसिंह देव का प्रार्थना उसमें, वो भी उनके साथ। तो इट्स अ ट्रेनिंग, जस्ट लाइक इट हैपेंस इन द्वारकावासी आल्सो, इट इज सेड दैट आफ्टर दैट the Nitya Siddhas went back to spiritual world, and those who come from the demigod planets like Dhara and Drona and Nanda and Yashoda. So they are all including one. So Nanda Yashoda went and Dhara and Drona went to heavenly planet. So they come to experience that or to become perfect, to take training. How it happens is technically not known, but this concept is there. It's very clearly explained in the 11th canto that when all these things happened, then those who were Nitya Siddhas, they went back. They already went back. But those who fought and all, they were like elements and then demigods and all, they went here.
Because in that past time, Prahlad Maharaj going at that time, at that place, Nrsimhadev temple.
That Jiva came in the body of Prahlad Maharaj because of that Sukriti.
But that was not at all, because he was not doing it with desire to please Nrsimhadev.
Right.
Just it
So
happened.
that is why the example is given कि अगर accidental चीजों का इतना है तो consciously करेगा तो कितना, उसके लिए प्रोपस बोलते हैं ना कि भाई ऑनररी डिग्री किसी को मिल जाता है तो कुछ उसके लिए करता नहीं है, कृपा से तो बोलते हैं। लेकिन कृपा सिद्धि होती है हमेशा, क्योंकि उस कृपा के लिए कभी कभी साधना की जाती है। ऐसा नहीं कि साधना फोर्स कर देता है कृपा को, साधना इज देयर टू अट्रैक्ट द ग्रेस ऑफ द लॉर्ड, इट्स नॉट अ फोर्स। हम ऐसा नहीं कह सकते मैंने इतने साल भक्ति किया, इतने साल जप किया, इतने साल तपस्या किया, मिलने वाला। बट कृष्णा हैज हिज ओन मूड एंड ही डज रेसिप्रोकेट, बट उसका कोई ये फिक्स टाइम है, ये नहीं कि ऐसा 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 होगा। Krishna loves his devotee. That love is the, hope for the devotee. One thing, formula नहीं है. मैंने इतना नाम जप कर लिया, इतने कर लिया. लोग बोलते हैं ना 1 करोड़ नाम जप करके ऐसा हो जाए. ऐसा कुछ नहीं.
Show that he gives some examples of.
तो कृपा से दिखा एग्जाम. शो द मर्सी ऑफ द लॉर्ड. लेकिन वो नहीं है ना. ट्रेडिशनल पाथ तो साधना भक्ति का ही है.
One more after that. Like we said that all jivas are marginal energy. So those who are in spiritual world, they are also marginal.
No, they are nitya siddha.
They are internal, they come under internal marginal.
Technically they will also come under marginal energy. कृष्णा का जो एक्सपेंशन होता है ना, कृष्णा का एक्सपेंशन कई लेवल पे होता है. यानी कि द एक्सपेंशन लाइक फॉर एग्जांपल द सखीज आर देयर, सो गोपीज आर देयर, देयर एक्सपेंशन श्रीमती राधा रानी. तो कृष्णा का जो एक्सपेंशन के भी वैरायटीज है. मतलब चित शक्ति के जो वैरायटी एक्सपेंशन है ना, उसमें वैरायटी है. तो देयर आर some expansion which are prone to fall down, there are marginal potential, and there are some which never fall down, although they are also in the jiva category. Jiva category, they are marginal,
But they don't fall down.
they don't fall down. नित्य सिद्ध बोलते हैं उनको. तो marginal, technically marginal बोल सकते हैं, but they are eternally under the shelter of intelligence. This you can read in more detail in Brahma Samhita, where this verse is there, na? The verse.
But they will not consider internal potencies.
नहीं, इंटरनल पोटेंशियल में क्या होता है? मार्जिनल पोटेंशियल और इंटरनल पोटेंशियल योग माया के संरक्षण में, राधा रानी के संरक्षण. So those who are in the spiritual world already, they are under the shelter of the spiritual potential already. While being here also, Mahatmanas Mampartha Devim Prakriti Mashna. There is, so marginal is that there is any jiva, then is marginal potency. वो उसका एक category है. लेकिन marginal में कुछ लोग eternally they are there in the spiritual world. And now who comes here? This again leads to the same question where we came from. तो इसलिए क्या है उसका connection. अभी वो कहेंगे कि वो है नित्य सिद्धा, तो वो कहाँ से आया, क्या हुआ? तो basically there are नित्य सिद्धा people say they never fall down. There are नित्य सिद्धा who never fall down. तो इसका मतलब क्या है कि अगर प्रभुपाद के पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू से देखा जाए, पर्सपेक्टिव से देखा जाए, just to make reconcile, in the spiritual world there are some jivas who will never fall down, and in the spiritual world there are some jivas who are prone to fall down. अब उसका details we can, I mean there are details in understanding, but
both will be marginal energy.
both technically they are marginal. या उनका जो एक्सपेंशन होता है चित्त शक्ति से होता है, राधा रानी से होता है, so whether they fall marginal, jivas they fall down, so they are in the same category.
Like these Sakhis and all of them, gopis and Sakhis,
No, they are not.
functional Radha Rani,
They are not counted in the marginal. No.
internal energy. But all other jivas,
वही बता रहा हूँ कि जो एक्सपेंशन है ना, कई लोगों से होता है. वो एक्सपेंशन के बेसिस पे whether those who are susceptible to fall down are only called marginal energy or those who are in the jiva category are called marginal. ये पता नहीं, technically कहीं पढ़ा नहीं. But what we can say कि there are some jivas in the spiritual world who never fall down, and as per what Rupa right that we came from the spiritual world, so definitely there is a category of jivas who can fall down. तो ये तो marginal है. अब वो marginal बोल के भी eternally वहीं पे है, तो उसको नित्य सिद्धा बोलो या marginal बोलो, actually बोलो, ये technically नहीं पता. Concept के रूप में ऐसा. Concept wise is clear. Brahma Samhita,
gopis and Mandiris, they are not marginal, they are internal potency.
they are part of the internal potential, the expansion of the internal potential. So that's why I'm saying that expansion happened in multiple levels. Radha Rani से भी expansion होता है, Krishna से भी expansion होता है. तो वो कैसे होता है? Some hint is given by Srila Bhakti Saraswati Maharaj in his commentary on that. Yeah. So, ये ना एक मिनट ब्रह्म संहिता खोल ही देता ना वर्ष बदल.
Marginal energy करके अलग energy रहती है, internal energy, दो ही energy है, internal and external. Internal energy will cover that, they are called as, just functionally they are called as marginal. Like that, there are three kinds of categories.
That's why
I used to think that there are only two energies, external and internal. But internal, they are acting functionally as prone to fall down. Because नाम दे दिया marginal, but ऐसा है नहीं.
नहीं है, इसको थोड़ा पढ़ लो, थोड़ा सा क्लैरिटी मिलेगा. ब्रह्म संहिता में राधा रानी also expands. Radha Rani also expand into her associates, and there are expansion which come from Krishna also. Although they are all eternally there, सो उनमें थोड़ा सा डिस्टिंक्शन अलग अलग है। तो इसलिए बता रहा हूँ ना, ये फिर उसी दिशा में चला जाता है। जीवा आया कहाँ से, विष्णु के नाभि से आया है या वहां से आए हैं, वहां जाना है। देखो मेरा तो सिंपल अंडरस्टैंडिंग है, somehow or other by reading Prabhupada's books I develop more understanding of Prabhupada than any other person. I have not read much of this thing. Prabhupada ने बोला back home back to God, तो सिंपल लॉजिक, बैक मतलब हाँ, Prabhupada ने बैक होम बोला मतलब होम से, होम का हो सकता है एक क्वार्टर में ब्रह्म ज्योति हो, एक क्वार्टर में, तो होम के भी कई पोर्शन हो सकते हैं ना, तो होम मतलब स्पिरिचुअल वर्ल्ड कई पोर्शन हो सकते हैं। बट डेफिनेटली we made a wrong choice, इतना मैं मानता हूँ। It was not के there was nothing and we were just dumped in it, because that brings a feeling of this, मेरे को बिना पूछे नाभि से निकाल के मुझे को उधर दे दिया, उसको वहां ले गए। Doesn't make sense. मतलब फ्री विल का मिसयूज किया, ये पक्का है, चाहे कुछ भी हो, चाहे नाभि से निकल के वहां नहीं गए, यहाँ आ गए बिना गए जाके, या वहां से इधर आ गए, जो भी गया वो, एक चीज पक्का है, अपना फ्री विल का 100% मिसयूज किया, उतने में मुझे को कोई डाउट नहीं, उतना काफी है ना, उसके ऊपर क्या रिसर्च करनी है, उसको फ्री विल का मिसयूज किया है। तो लोगों को क्या लगता है ना, ब्लेम लेने के लिए कौन है, मैं महाविष्णु की नाभि से निकला था और कुछ लोग उधर चले गए, कुछ लोग इधर आ गए, तो मेरा नंबर उधर क्यों नहीं लगा? मतलब यू नो, जनरली द माइंड टेंड्स लुक फॉर समथिंग व्हिच इट कैन से कि किसी और का गलती है मेरा इधर आने। और अब मैं भक्ति नहीं कर पा रहा, मेरे अंदर रसा टेस्ट नहीं आ पा रहा, भाई नहीं तो कहाँ से आएगा? मैं उसके लिए बना नहीं ना, सेंस ग्रेटिफिकेशन शुरू से किया है। क्योंकि जब हम बोलते वहां से आए तो लगता है ना, अरे अंदर मतलब, लेकिन वो तो बोला नित्य चित्त कृष्ण प्रेम साधे कबू ना श्रवण आदि शुद्ध जित करे उधर, इन द डेफिनेशन ऑल्सो, साधना भक्ति के जब डेफिनेशन देंगे तो वो डेफिनेशन में भी रूप उसमें यही बोलेंगे कि ये उसका पोटेंशियल है, दैट ही कैन वॉक, एंड प्रभुपाद गिव्स द एग्जांपल ऑफ चाइल्ड कैन वॉक। तो साधना का पोटेंशियल है टू अवेकन दैट प्रोपेंसिटी व्हिच इज ऑलरेडी देयर, लेकिन अगर कुछ पोटेंशियल ही नहीं उसको चलने का तो कैसे चल पाए? तो इसलिए क्या है कि जो भी हो, आई ट्राई टू कीप द बॉल इन माई कोर्ट, दैट्स वेरी गुड इजी सेफ। दूसरे कोर्ट में फेंकने से क्या फायदा, वो हम देखते रहेंगे, अपना बॉल चलता रहेगा, वो ऐसे मारेगा ऐसे मारेगा, वॉलीबॉल चलता रहेगा, अपने कोर्ट में रखने का फायदा है ना। आई मेड अ रॉन्ग चॉइस, दैट इज श्योर। तो उसमें क्या होता है कि अपना रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी भी लगता